Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
And welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears as we get into the science side of everything from UFOs, aliens, and time travel. Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob McGwier and our special guest tonight. You wanted him back. We got him. Dr. Michael P. Masters from Montana Tech, and his beard and hair combination is looking fantastic tonight. Before we bring the gentleman in, let us say hello to all of you. We got Ann B. in the gold medal position, Nightmare in the silver, Sugar Britches with the bronze. Then we go to Race Fan, Michael Morris, Brown Dwarf, Paramarv. Human Carl is here. We'll see Human Carl in 1 week in Las Vegas. Thank you for your service to the USAF there, Human Carl. We muchly appreciate it. Lisa C., D. Cohen, Stephanie Kinney Blankenship, Bigfoot Rob, how are you? Hello, Ozzy Sue. Nice to see you. Dutch Hank and Vash the Impaler. Luscious Jules is here. Luscious Jules will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Desert Rat, Worsley, Kurt M., and Emmy Tong. Good to have you all here. Laura Lobbs, nice to see you. And where else are we here? Scrolling on down. Oh, big conversation. Chill Farm, how are you? And then Sweet Donna Spencer and Doubleday Clemens. Good to see you both. Gizmo, how you doing, buddy? Gizmo will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Pixie Lara and Marty Burback, thank you for joining us. Millennium, my man, we'll see you in a week. Noble Patrick, good to see you. And Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, so we can officially start this show. Continuing, let's see who else. Esmeralda, Allison Singh, good to have you here. And Mike Arrington, Dim Dim is back 2 nights in a row. We are so lucky. Paula Fost, welcome to SOR Chat. And Orbis Paranormal, welcome to SOR Chat. Number 21 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Just another guy named Harry, welcome to SOR Chat. And let's see who else is here. Dr. Robert Steers, I apologize. I will call you after Las Vegas. I've just been unbelievably swamped, but yes, we will call. I did get your message. Thank you for joining us again. Blue Cruz and Vaughn Patrick, rather. How are you? W. Decker, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight, my man. Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. All right, continuing on here, we got TMI and Digger Dog. Richard Minnick, good to see you, my man. And who else is here? Les Paul Holland, he'll strum a chord for you. Yes, he will, maybe 2. Brad Rowenfeld, good to see you. And who else do we have in the chat room tonight? Jenna A. and Peppa H, good to see you all. Thank you for joining us, my regulars. And all the newbies coming on in. Continuing on, Kim Stanley, Chris Teen, nice to see you. And let's see, we are caught up for right now. We are. Cool. We got like 1 minute here. Like, what do you want to talk about? Well, let's talk about the fact that next week is Las Vegas, and VIPs, you're going to be getting an email from me tomorrow. There is a little bit of a scheduling change for the VIP party, but no worries, it's still going on. Oh, yes, an hour later and in a different location. We'll let you know. in an email tomorrow. I'm excited, guys. Vegas next week. Oh, yeah. And by the way, my Oilers are up 4-0 after 2 periods of play. Yeah. It's awesome. So if you see me cheering, it's because we're going to win tonight. Yeah, we are. Okay, Super Chat is open once again, and you can do some shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store because that's where we got great swag like the Woo shirt, just like that. The Woo Train in action. Oh, we got to start the radio side. Oh, my goodness. I almost forgot to let Bill WD-40 in because, we have to get Bill to lube us up for tonight's show. W. Decker, I wish you could come to Vegas with us, man. Next year, you got to be there. You got to be there. Have to. Mama Susan, nice to see you. And Science Melinda, nice to have you back. Let's all do let's do all of us a favor here. Let's get our horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of science tonight. Science Bob is back with Science Bob and Friends. A special guest, Dr. Michael P. Masters from Montana Tech, and his hair and beard combination are looking just fantastic tonight. Nicely trimmed, very nicely trimmed. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton brings us another story from Among the Missing. Then after that, little Timmy Senor is going to join us for the UFO report. Yes, it is that time of the month where we get rid of the woo and get into the who, what, where, when, why, and how. All things sciencey about the paranormal supernatural world. Dr. Bob McGwier, known as Science Bob around these parts, has been with us for a couple of years doing this show, taking a look at the more scientific and human side of all things strange. He's formerly of the CIA and formerly of Virginia Tech University. And tonight, we're going to be talking to a guy who talks about these things called extratempestrals or Temptation Island pestrels or whatever they are called. From Montana Tech University, he's one of the most brilliant men in ufology, in my opinion. Dr. Michael Masters is with us as well. Science Bob, it's good to have you back.
No.
He's very sus, Michael.
Yeah, I know. I don't know about this guy's introductions. What's all that?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about you, man. I'm talking about you. Hey, Bob, I didn't know you were at Virginia Tech. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was the
right?
chief scientist of the Hume Center for National Security and Technology,
No kidding.
and in
That's
the
awesome.
double E and math and physics departments.
And that's in Blacksburg, right?
Yeah. Well, I loved it. I was there for
11 God.
years.
Yeah, no, my buddy was he got a full ride to play soccer in Radsford or something.
Yeah,
a little bit south of
Radford.
Radford. And we went up to Blacksburg for a weekend, went hiking all around there. Beautiful campus.
Yeah, I loved it.
Beautiful. Oh my God.
I miss it.
Yeah, I could see that. It's
well, they shut down
gorgeous.
for COVID in 2020 and was clear it wasn't going to come back for a year and a half, so I retired.
See that? Yeah. Academia got tough during that period. Got really tough. I thought about quitting too.
Gentlemen, So glad that you guys could chat with us, because me and my minuscule, broadcast diploma from the British Columbia Institute of Technology just will not compete with you guys tonight. I can tell you that right now. But nonetheless, we're going to have a great show tonight. We are. We're going to get into a lot of UFOs. And one of the topics, Bob, that I wanted to talk about, Mike, I'm not sure. I know you've been on vacation. I'm not sure if you have been able to catch up on what's happening, but Logan Paul, the influencer, and everybody who knows him, his podcast, he's into wrestling and boxing and everything. Well, apparently he has a UFO video.
Taken right outside at the mailbox at Area 51.
And apparently this is a video movie director James Fox believes is going to be one that, if anybody saw it, and we've heard this before, if anybody saw it and they were non-believers, they would be believers now. Bob, what do you know about this story?
So I've seen a rough cut of part of the video, and it looks like crap. So I hope what's actually out there available, that for if everybody got to see all of it, we see more than we see. Because I've seen handheld camera videos of orange orbs with me standing next to Chris Bledsoe in the air, and they look better than that. I mean, it's closer. It just doesn't have any detail to it. Now, the story is pretty rough. So the guy was invited out to the owner of the video's home, and he offered the guy $100,000 for the video, and the guy wouldn't take it, but he wanted to see it. So the guy plays the video, and Paul grabs his button camera phone, turns it on, and copies the video. And he's got a copy of this video. There's been all sorts of crazy conspiracy theory like reasons for why he doesn't want to show this video. And he got interviewed today, and he says, look, the video looks like crap. I don't think it convinces anybody of anything. I offered guy $100,000, and he completely and totally admits and owns up to that he was an AH and took the video secretly. I mean, he completely owns up to it. It says, I'm a jerk. I took it. I did it. I've got it. He says, I'd really like to release it. And he says, I'll think about it, but it's not very good. So I don't know if it means anything or not. But what is purportedly in it is these two guys are just for goofs headed out to the mailbox in Rachel, Nevada. They turn around, they go over this rise, and right up from the direction of Area 51 comes a UFO, which comes right on top of the car, and the car chokes, and one of them is scared, and the other one jumps out and starts taking the video that we are now talking about.
One of the questions that I have about it was Logan Paul stating, and we'll get more into this tonight with Tim Senor in the UFO report, but Logan Paul stating that there's only one person whose advice he'll take on this, and that's Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Yeah.
Like, you gotta be kidding me. Look, I want to believe Bob Lazar. I really, really do. Okay. But he's not a ufologist. No. We don't even know if he's actually worked at Area 51 or not. I'm leaning towards, there's a few chips in the concrete there, if you know what I'm saying. And here we are, listening to this guy. How do we take him credible when he says Bob Lazar is the only one who is going to be able to clear this up, man? I mean, Bob, Mike, help me out here.
I mean, I don't know how, like you said, I mean, I was gone for a while, not necessarily a vacation, kind of a work trip, kind of a vacation. It's good to hybridize those. But I haven't seen the video. I don't know how it relates to Bob Lazar. I'm going to have to plead ignorance on this one. I can't help you out this time, Dave. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Bob, I know you were paying attention.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, it's Lazar. Look, he wants to go to Lazar because Lazar claims he worked at Area 51. Bob, did you ever see this while you were at Area 51? And we know one person a person that you and I and our audience likes, one that we'll see and slap his back and hug him in Las Vegas. And that's Jim Goodall, who took a card that the Navy gave Bob that was issued to him from EG&G, went to the Pentagon and got raked over the coals by a naval security officer for ever having shown up. So if you trust Jim Goodall, there's evidence. So I don't know Bob. I know Jim. I know the story. I know that careers were made out of Bob Lazar's story. From famous reporters in Las Vegas, became worldwide sensation overnight, and have built a career on one man's video. So it's had a big deal. Yeah.
I gotta plead ignorance here. I don't know who Jim Goodall is. Can you give me some backstory on that, just for context?
Jim Goodall is an aerospace and submarine expert. He's written many books on aerospace, Area 51, Los Angeles, Ohio, etc. class submarines. And there's extremely great detail. And he had an in and was friends with Ben Rich, who ran Lockheed Skunk Works. And he used to sneak onto and actually camped out on Area 51 before they clamped down on it. And he got Ben Rich to talk to him and give him quotes. And he claims Ben Rich told him that we have the technology to fly ET home. We just can't figure out what to do with it. In other words, you got to have a navigation aid to know where to take that technology.
Right. Thank you for that. It sounded familiar, but I just didn't know the context.
You should see Jim's work. His books, they're brilliant. I mean, it's first-rate professional work. And he's the one person I ever know who privately owned a U-2.
Privately, you can own
SR-71. He had an
the Blackbird.
He had an SR-71 Blackbird and took it to his favorite museum and parked it there. And the CIA came and stole it from him.
True story.
That's a true story, Mike.
He actually flew in the cockpit of that SR-71 while it was flying inside a C-5 Galaxy being delivered to the museum.
Yep. Jim Goodall is much bigger than life.
Oh, that's cool. No, thanks for that. I'm still trying to catch up on a lot of things, and that's definitely something I'm going to look into. Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, Michael Masters. I mean, you're going to be speaking at the MUFON conference later this summer, and you are going to be talking about, is there life out there, and is there, aliens, extra temptation island terrestrials, or whatever you call them, and all sorts of big words that us blue collar journalists can't say or pronounce.
No, you do that on purpose, and it evolves. And I love that every time I'm on with you, it evolves even more. You add like an extra 5 syllables every time you say extra tempestrial, which isn't that hard of a word, my friend. But yes,
you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But yes, I will be talking at the MUFON conference in August. And I'm actually, there's been a time like in the process where I'm trying to introduce people to what I feel are like the Cliff Notes version of this idea. And now I feel like we can talk about some of the more specific, nuanced versions of that idea. And so what I want to do in August at the MUFON conference is kind of take it a little bit farther and see what this might apply to in different ways. And I'm gonna beta test it this weekend in Phoenix with Phoenix MUFON group, who are some of the best people I've met as far as UFO people, and kind of see what they think about these ideas, and then hopefully they'll tell me I'm an idiot or there's something to them, and then that'll be where we end up in Cincinnati in August.
Well, make sure you say hello to Shane Hurd and his fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Love Shane Hurd. best beard in the land, my friend. No
He has
offense, Dave,
he has a
but
great beard. And I love
dude,
his
I mean, come on,
campaign
come
hat.
on. There's
Oh.
no competition there.
None. And the way he's now waxing the mustache up,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it looks fantastic. I can't
Solid.
compete with that. Cannot
Nobody
compete.
can. Nobody can. He's probably a future human the way he styles that thing.
He's one of them extra temp t-shirts.
Don't even do it. If you're gonna do it, just add 15 syllables at the end. I think that's the only thing that's appropriate at this point.
All right, Science Bob, let's head it over to you here, buddy.
Okay, we might as well do some kind of introduction of our guest to our audience. Dr. Michael Masters is at Montana State. Is that right?
No.
Montana.
So we got Montana State on the left. We got University of Montana on the right, and then we have an engineering university in the middle. That's Montana Tech.
Montana Tech. Okay, great.
Montana
yeah, I went
Tech.
to Auburn, which is like Alabama Tech.
You got it. You got it.
Okay, yeah, I got it. So sorry about that. So
no worries.
You wrote a book that I own, The Identified Flying Saucers, and you introduced the concept of future humans coming back in time and visiting us. So how did you get into all of that?
I mean, how far back do you want to go?
Yes, as far back as you want to go. Take your time. Introduce yourself.
Young child. I was a young child growing up in a pretty rural area of Ohio, and I learned that my father had a UFO encounter, and that made me start thinking about whether or not this was real. And after that, I realized it was real, as most of us did. It doesn't take much to do that, and I feel like a lot of people are coming around to that now.
Mm-hmm.
If they pay attention to what's going on. The problem is a lot of people aren't paying attention to what's happening, and they just kind of look past it as if it's still some sort of mystical, ethereal thing that doesn't exist in our reality. But that's changing, so that's good to see. So that was my introduction as far as the interest in the phenomenon. And then, as I describe in the introduction of both of my books, the main thing that sort of triggered my relationship with this was a precognitive moment that connected my future and past when I looked up and saw Whitley Strieber's book on the shelf of our living room at the old house where I grew up. And then I saw this future with what we're doing now with future humans and a sort of interesting take on that picture of that being and what that means. And it was impactful. And so here I am.
Well, there you go. That's really great. So I suspect that when I read the book, I saw what I thought was a focus on grays.
Yes.
And I suspect that if you did what I think you did, you expanded your view of what these things might be, different times in the future and so forth. So I'm sure you've extended it quite a bit for the second book, if you're following the same topic. And if I'm wrong, correct me. But if you follow the same topic, you probably extended it to go beyond just grays.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there, Bob. And it was a failing on my part, in fact, that I did only focus on that. I mean, that, like I just said, that was my introduction to this, in the sense that it started from that picture, that archetypal gray alien on the cover of Whitley Strieber's book. And that was kind of a jumping off point. But yeah, like really getting into the weeds of what's going on and what people experience, I realized that was only a small snapshot of the overall panorama that is the UFO phenomenon. So yeah, in researching the second book, it was more of a deep dive into the UFO aspect of it. The first one was very much centered on, that, just connecting this to that.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw. That's what I put in the book. I saw
Yep.
early human, modern human, future human. That was my frame of reference. And obviously, looking back on it, it's a very narrow, limited view of what's actually going on with regard to all of the various types of beings that are coming back or coming from potentially different planets or whatever the origin
massive
is.
complications caused by multiple interpretations of physics.
Yeah, interpretations of physics, interpretation of the
multi-universe
beings,
and all that other stuff. It's really complex.
Yeah, and even the interpretation of what individuals see, they're going to remember it differently. They're going to interpret it differently. There's a lot of variation in what's happening. I think that, yeah, in going from the first book to the second book, I try to acknowledge that and own the errors of only focusing on the grays and recognize that a lot of things are very similar to what we do now and what we're likely to do in the very near future. And it's probably us in a more proximate version of ourselves. It's probably going to happen sooner than later. And I was focusing on the very distant part. It's like looking down the road and you can't see that distant exit, but it's there. You look on Google Maps and you're like, oh, it's down there. But you see this one right next to you, and that's more tangible because it's right there.
Yeah.
But the one way down the road, you only see it on the map, and it's not something you can just look out your window and see. It's this thing that's separated from you somehow. And I think that's sort of one of the limitations of my first book, is I was looking too far down the road. And now I realize that this is all maybe happening now or soon or both.
We have a good friend who writes books about the technical aspects of spacecraft from the future and from aliens, etc. And he will be in Las Vegas, and he's got a bunch of things that are the Michelin Man and all the stuff where humans are coming back from the future in craft and walking outside the craft and waving at people. And we've got it. We can't be that far away from time travel if that's true. Dave, why don't you take us out for the break?
Well, you know what? When we look at the different species that people are seeing and coming in contact with, it's hard for me to fathom, Dr. Mike, that there is, that say the mantids or the reptilians or all of these weird, strange creatures could be us from the future as well. How do you elaborate on that with about 90 seconds to go?
90 seconds, I would say, yes, there is a window for extraterrestrials. Absolutely. I've never once claimed that this is the be all and end all of the theories to explain the UFO phenomenon. In fact, it's always been the opposite, that I feel like this explains one of or many of the nuances of this phenomenon, especially with regard to the beings themselves. But you could definitely have extraterrestrials. There's also the possibility, as I've said many times, that in the deep future, there will be a lot of genetic variation, evolutionary phylogeny changes that happen, where they look very different than ourselves, what I call temporal ancestry. So is it time variation? Is it geographic variation? Is it extraterrestrial variation? Nobody can know. I don't claim to have the answers, but I do think we should keep an open mind to the fact that it very well could be the fact that we're coming back from different times in our future, and we see variation across time, not necessarily across space.
Excellent answer. And when we come back from the break here on Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob McGwier and special guest Dr. Michael Masters from Montana Tech, we are going to get more into the UFO game, the UFO studies, time travel, aliens, and so much more. Stick around because we got a great show of science tonight and the fields that we love. No woo tonight. No. Got to sign that contract where Dr. Michael Masters says no woo. No woo.
I'll do woo tonight.
I'll do woo tonight with you, my friend Dave.
Let's go woo. Let's go woo, brother.
Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. You guys.
I ain't afraid of Woo.
No, me either, dude. You don't know me well, but I live in the daily experience with the phenomenon, daily, every day.
Like you mean communication or
communication?
seeing, or...
I take pictures of craft in my skies. It's just beings walking up to my front and back door.
What do they tell you?
Oh,
do they tell you about their origins and intent?
They have said something to me about what they want me to do.
Do they say who they are and where they come from?
No. Well, so if you've read The Watchers and any other Raymond Fowler book about Betty Andreas and Luca, that is them.
I haven't read that. So can you tell me, like,
they are creatures that are coming back and trying to help get us to do better with our planet. The standard messages, but this time the message they told us is we are going to help them and they're going to help us. Not unlike the movie Arrival.
And you're talking about
we help you now and you help us in the future.
And you're talking about daily interaction.
They not daily interaction with them, but daily interaction with the phenomenon. They come every now and again. How
often?
We've had them 3 times here in the house.
Have you talked to them physically in person?
No, I have not.
Like face to face, or
Lala has. So look, we went out on our deck. We took a picture with my DSLR Canon camera with a fancy lens on it, and the picture contained smoke, and inside the smoke was a big, clear-cut gray alien, clear-cut, 6 feet in front of us. And after that, they talked to her.
Like at that same moment?
No, the next day. Next day. It was wild.
What does she remember what they said, or was it?
Oh yeah,
mostly...
she remembers it in detail.
Are you willing to share that, or?
Yeah. We've been sharing it on the air. It's you guys are. It's time for the 2 of you to get on with it. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to do these experiments that you've been talking about doing. Get on with it. And they talked to her like they were talking by a hive mind, because it was a bunch of them together. Yeah. And she says she heard this buzzing like bees, and then came to one voice, and then it morphed into like the voice of God and talked to her.
Yep. That's how they do it.
Hive mind to the voice of God. So it was like individual facets to the universal consciousness, all in one session.
That sounds like the people, the thing, the entities, the whatever we want to call them, man. That checks out.
Yeah, well, I mean, you go. We put our evidence up for public consumption. It's there to see.
You don't need to. That's the evidence right there.
Yep. Oh yeah. No. I don't need convincing. I live with it every day. We were taking pictures and videos and pictures of craft in our skies, portals over the neighbors' houses, orbs coming into our backyard. I mean, it's just daily.
Yeah. The thing that sucks is that we feel like we have to do that we feel like we have to like prove it to somebody.
I'm just.
I don't think you do.
I'm with you. I'm not doing it for proof. I'm doing it to share.
No, I know, but you instantly defaulted to that. You instantly defaulted to, well, we have this thing and that thing and that thing.
No, but what it is to convince a few people that it's real, so they'll pay attention. We need more people on the planet to pay attention.
We do, but as much as we argue as individual peoples when we're talking about a hive mind, our individual voice means nothing.
The
hive mind comes through the hive mind growing through our universal consciousness and the evolution of that consciousness.
Yep. So look, let's talk about consciousness in the upcoming segment, because I'm a big time subscriber to and supporter of Donald Hoffman and his latest model for consciousness, which requires a universal consciousness he explains how space-time and quantum physics arise and how time is derived from the universal consciousness. It's pretty neat, and these papers are available online.
All right, guys. I want to say a big thank you to W. Decker with a hat trick of super chats, Science Bob, Lala, Gizmo, Deb, and Justin. And Justin's beautiful mane of hair, which will be in Las Vegas next week.
Yes.
And he's going to give us a full session on how to take good care of your hair like he does. All right. And Justin, I will get to your question in hour number 2, bud. But thank you for the super chat. Here we go with the second half hour, everybody. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott. We are having a great night of science and woo tonight. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight. Science Bob and friends, our special guest, Dr. Michael Masters from Montana Tech. And Science Bob, you wanted to get into a little bit of consciousness here.
I do. But first, I want to finish off the last question. I have I want Michael to tell me what he thinks is the more likely. So do you think, I mean, it is kind of weird to think about extraterrestrials coming to here and having mantids and Pleiadians and Andromedans and reptilians and every dadgum one of them being humanoid. So which is more likely? These are from dear off far future, or there's a seeding by a big, huge master race of humanoid forms all over the place, or I don't believe in the parallel evolution. It's just too unlikely.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's about 3 different things going on there. So we could have, as you just said, which you don't believe, and I don't either, because it makes no sense whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
That we could have separate evolution on different planets that happen to result in tetrapods that are pentadactyl, that are bipedal, that have the same craniofacial configuration as us. I think we can put that one aside for now.
Yeah, let's forget it.
There is also the possibility there was seeding happening, as you just said. So there could be some extraterrestrial race, and we're just a part of that. Or potentially, and this kind of gets back to the simulation hypothesis, where we are the ones doing the simulation, where we seeded all of these other planets in the future, not to discount our ability to do that eventually. Or how it's usually expressed is that there's another extraterrestrial race that's doing that seeding. Or it's possible that we evolved to the point where we are the extraterrestrial travelers, we're the interstellar beings that go to these different planets, and we set up shop. And then in the same way that I don't say I'm Welsh because I live in America, even though all my ancestors are Welsh, like 95% of them, I say I'm American. Maybe they are from these planets. They've been there so long that they just said, yeah, I'm a Pleiadian or or whatever thing that's made up, because they are still from Earth, but future humans that come back through both space and time from those places. I don't necessarily have an answer. I don't believe one over the other. I just think the simplest one is that maybe it's an ancestry thing and we're here and we know this. And if we go to other planets in the future, it seems simpler, but it could absolutely be those other things too.
Well, if we achieve near light speed travel, even far in the future, the amount of time that would be that would pass by inside the ship carrying the people entities going to another planet from Earth, it wouldn't take them that long. I mean, if they got fast enough, they could go there in a month, while by here 1,000 years went past. Okay,
Exactly.
so we can see the galaxy. It's hard to see how to seed Andromeda with a humanoid.
That's true. Yeah, when we're talking about different star systems, different galaxies, the more you get away from that. Can we go out and seed the rim of our universe? No. Like, maybe, I don't know. Like, if we get so good at time that space contracts, maybe. But when you start to combine space and time or separate them in the way that we're kind of conceptualizing it now, yeah, you could do that. You could come from Andromeda, even if your origins are on Earth. Theoretically, these different star clusters, it seems really hard to wrap your mind around that, and it adds a number of different levels of assumptions and the different speculations that come with that. But potentially, yeah, we could be those extraterrestrials with origins on this planet.
Okay, so I see easily the jumping point from your first book to the second book and the topics we've been talking about. Are there new topics you introduced in the new book that you feel comfortable talking about because it hasn't been released yet?
Which new book are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Extratemporals. Is that released? Is your second book released? I'm sorry, I don't have it.
Yeah, the second book came out a year ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's my fault. So just no.
I feel daggers going through my heart.
Okay, sorry. So I haven't read it. So did you introduce new concepts?
I still get a lot of emails from people. They're like, "I'm reading your book," and I'm thinking in my mind like, which one? But I don't ask.
I have not read the second one. I admit it. I own the first one.
No worries. There's actually a third one coming out in about 2 weeks. So I definitely do not blame you for not keeping up with the ridiculous process that I'm on right now. Tell me
the big jumps from 1 to 2 to 3.
I don't know how to summarize those in a short sentence, but from the first one to the second one, I'll give you a Cliff Notes version. The first one is very much about the science and the hard science of like physics, astronomy, astrobiology, and anthropology. Bringing in a little bit of the abduction phenomenon, the contactee experience, but not getting into that as much as I probably should have. Realizing that, moving to the second book, I flipped it and I went to the things people experience, the things that are being left behind in the conversation now, where we're talking about the Tic Tacs, we're talking about the videos that people see in the cockpits of their planes with all of their fancy technology that's not fancy compared to the technology that those people have. We're leaving that out. So I switched to that. So I think it's very important. We can learn a lot from the things that people experience in those interactions with the actual beings themselves. Then the third book does the same thing on both sides, but makes it more of a story that people could just read. A science fiction novel that is both, how do you say, trite? I don't know if I want to put words on it yet. I think I would let other people do that. But it's the opposite of the first one, but also the second one is somewhere in between there.
Okay. So in the third one, you have a lot of narrative, but is science introduced in each kind
Absolutely.
of narrative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the science that I didn't realize in the first two books too, a lot of quantum mechanics shit. A lot of quantum mechanics shit that I only learned through this process. Like, that's always what's guided me. That's always been the process this entire time.
Got it.
But this one had to stand in contrast to the other two as a fictional story. But where I am liberated, almost Science Bob, where I'm liberated to bring in that aspect of science that's both real and that we don't yet understand, but makes for a great story. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's right. But that was the same thing with the first book. Sorry. That was the same thing with the first book. Like, we don't know yet. We don't know how time works. We don't know how time travel works. But I was just working from this place that we are in now. And that one allowed me to just go beyond that and say, well, what if we are in this place in the future where we can learn from that future and we can interject that into now?
So it sounds to me like in the first and second books, you were still, if I'm reading right, you correct me if I'm wrong, you were still kind of heavily tied to the construct in your mind of the block universe where everything is all laid out. And we're just looking at a little part of all we see is our local space time. But the big tapestry has already been laid out. Did I have that right?
No.
Okay, good. Correct me.
No, and not because you're wrong about what my perception of that is, only in that nobody knows, and I don't know either. The block universe is the best we can do right now, and it might be wrong, but that was the jumping off point for the first book, and it is probably right. You know, there's a reason most philosophers and physicists think it's right. It is probably right. The second book, someone pointed this out to me early on. You never talked about the many worlds interpretation. You never talked about quantum mechanics. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I didn't. So I did talk about that in the second book. This third book is a fun version of both of those, where it's like, what if it's this? What if it's that? And you know what pisses me off, Bob, is that every science fiction movie that I start liking starts with the block universe. It starts with block time, and then they give up on it because it doesn't work for their storyline.
Right.
And then they switch into whatever cockamamie idea comes to their mind and make it a multiverse thing. And I did the opposite. I switched that. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I started with that idea of the many worlds interpretation. What if it's this? What if this? How do we change the timeline? And then maybe or maybe not, it comes back to the block universe and the many worlds consistency theory of Igor Novikov, because that's the thing that probably is right.
I'm a big follower and listener to and reader of Sabina Hossenfelter, who believes in super determinism, and I'm kind of following her. And it implies the block universe, because I mean everything's just totally locked. So it probably is right. Okay, so I want us to. Are you familiar at all with Donald Hoffman?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. All right, good. So Donald recently gave a version of the block universe where he explains it all the way down to what he calls the fundamentals. The fundamentals being consciousness and conscious agents, and conscious agents as decorated permutations, and the dynamics in the decorated permutations being a Markov process, and then our little teeny tiny illusion of the universe is a projection from this monster space down to this, and time is the collapse and non-transmission of information through that projection. So the loss of information is where entropic time comes from. Do you like that?
I definitely Dave Scott, how much time do we have?
Oh, let's keep going.
We got 10 minutes. We got lots of time.
All right. So I do agree with a lot of what Donald Hoffman says. He makes very, very good points across the board. And I know
Logically sound.
And I know people are probably waiting for a but. There's not necessarily a but. There's just I think it's almost like the same kind of thing he's rallying against, where we construct it as this and or thing, this black and white thing, this materialist versus, like I absolutely agree that this is a construct. What our brains see, what our consciousness interprets as the real world is not the
It's
real
not
thing.
reality. It's an illusion.
It's not reality.
It's an
Absolutely.
illusion.
It's an illusion. And I would have put an F word in front of there if Dave wasn't sitting with his finger on the button trying to. It's an illusion. The question then becomes, what's the difference between those? What is the illusion? Which one are we in? We can move between those.
Mm-hmm.
Which life is real? It's not this one. So what is it?
Well, each
We
of us gets our own
evolved.
copy.
So let's explore that for a second. Is everything I say only pertinent to my world, and everything you do only pertinent to your world? Can you stab Dave across the screen and his brain bleeds out of his head and then it explodes, and that only happens in your world? That all of us, I think, are intertwined. But what is that? Do we still have our own?
I think there's however we get quantum physics out of this projection to our space-time. It's whatever up here comes down to quantum entanglement. And so those things I'm entangled with, I have correlations with. I affect them no matter how far away they are. So in some way. And Susskind and Maldacena and those guys, they've given us how to do teleportation through, and entanglement's a wormhole in their theory. Entanglement is a gravitational wormhole. And there's entangled particles on both ends of this wormhole. And it also going to do teleportation of information through that wormhole. You have to take the long way around to do the original entangled particles, but after that, you can go light speed. So I think I could reach out and slap Dave if I knew how to control the wormhole.
But could you stab him in the neck? Like that's what
right,
I want to
through the
see.
wormhole.
No, through this little slit right here in the screen. Like I want to see.
Well, the little slit in the screen might be the wormhole.
I mean, well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, if quantum mechanics works that way, maybe that's a very specific wormhole.
This is what Susskind, who's gave us superstring theory and a bunch of interesting quantum mechanics, and Juan Maldacena that gave us ADS and a bunch of stuff. That is their theory of how things work. That quantum entanglement is in fact put together by a wormhole, and that's why things interact with each other as a distance, because it's a puncture through space-time. Yeah. That's brilliant. I love it.
I love it too. Dave, how much time we got?
We got 6.5 minutes.
All right. So I would like to interject another quantum thing into this, is that and this isn't the person who invented this idea. This is where it came from in my mind that makes a lot of sense, is quantum tunneling and the fact that maybe particles, which are related to light, and light is a timeless photon.
Yep.
Because everything is relative to light. Can we agree on that?
We can agree.
So,
and the time and space-time distance is zero.
Yeah. So in reading, I was reading Eric Wargo's book not too long ago, and he's talking about the fact that, and he wasn't the first to say this, it's just my most recent introduction to it, is that the photon with the double slit experiment and everything, and how we get confused by that, is that maybe we're not looking at it the right way, that we're looking at it with linear time, but that photon might be sending as much information back from its future as it is from how we perceive it going this way from this point to that point. And if we start looking at everything that way, if we start looking at everything in that the end point matters as much as the beginning point, and they interact in that way across space-time, that opens up so many possibilities for understanding so many things.
Yep. So yeah, I believe it. I believe it's Wheeler. I heard out of Wheeler's mouth that there very well could be one photon. And sometimes there's a positron going backwards in time. Sometimes the positron going for or electron going forward. Photon's its own antiparticle, so it can go backwards and forwards. And so it can be one thing traversing forever and be all photons through different timelines.
Or
right?
it's the same photon that exists from the same one that exists from this origin point to that end point, even if it's from a distant star. Even if it's from a distant star, that photon has an end point, but we see it as like shh, and that's such a primitive perspective. Shh, we see it doing this one thing.
Yeah.
If it's always been at that end point and it's always been at that beginning point, that's the same thing.
Yes,
it's always there in both. That's the block universe. We need to stop thinking of it as it moves from one point to the other. It goes through a double slit. It's always there.
We can't think of it that way because this is a quantum mechanical system emitting, and this is another quantum mechanical system receiving. And until we observe that photon, it doesn't exist. It's not a thing traveling.
Exactly.
It's a particle.
And then you have quantum decoherence, which destroys the whole thing, and then you never see it in the first place.
Yeah.
No, I know, but that concept at least opened my mind to so many possibilities. Just that concept of that photon. And then I started thinking about the light beam that the UFOs use to bring people up, and that brings them through solid matter. Like, what if they use that same technology where there's no quantum decoherence, there's no collapse of the wave function, and then within that light beam, everything can move because it's suspended in space-time animation.
You're going to love our videos of whatever it is over the top of a house behind us, dropping this light beam on top of the house and the roof becoming transparent and seeing them go inside. I have that video.
Like, do you think they could do that? Do you think that's part of it?
I think they can do it? I have a video of it. So I know they can do it.
I know. But like the actual physical process, do you think it could be that suspension of decoherence, that suspension of...
That is the only explanation. That's the only viable explanation, is they can suspend decoherence.
I think so too.
That's the only viable.
I think so too.
But you have to suspend the Fermi exclusion principle, so your atoms will go through the atoms of the roof, because those fermions have to go past each other. I mean, it's crazy.
But there's no decoherence. There's no destruction.
There's no interference between them or decoherence.
Yeah.
This is cool. Dave, what do you got?
I don't know what the hell you guys have been talking about the last 10 minutes. You know, I really don't. Decoherence? Seriously. There's no woo in decoherence.
You can't
there's lots of
woo. Yeah, you can't spell woo without decoherence, dude.
Exactly. There's lots of woo.
I'm saying it for you.
Yeah, whatever.
I've always spelled it decoherence.
Yes.
Sorry, that joke.
That was horrible, by the way.
I know. I've been hanging out with my kids all night because you do this show too late, Dave. So, doing dad jokes all night leading up to this.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. By the way, I do have to say this completely off topic. When you were in Europe showing the UFO and tacos shirt from Spaced Out Radio Store, that was pretty awesome there. Not gonna lie. You were rocking it,
dude. You know what sucks is that my wife did like the zoom out thing on the Apple iPhone where you can do like the -5, and it made like my whole body swell out like this, so I looked like some kind of fat monk from the 1500s. But I appreciate you appreciating that.
Well, I mean,
I'll rock your shit I'll rock your stuff all over the planet. Sorry, you bleep. You didn't have your beep. I'll rock your stuff all over the planet, Dave. Keep sending it, man. No, please don't. I got so many shirts. I don't even know who to put them on. Put them on my cats at this point.
Dr. Michael Masters with Science Bob here on Science Bob and Friends. A wild hour number 1. When we come back, UFO talk. Where are these craft coming from? Where are they hiding? What do we know? Science Bob and Friends continues right after this. Masters, you're a fucking beauty.
Oh my God. He's got all sorts of shit to talk about.
Oh, dude, he's amazing. I love him. I love him. He's
Oh,
like you, Bob. He's got a free ride.
His
free
graduate
ride.
students and my graduate students could get together and tell some lies.
Oh my God, he's a beauty.
Oh my
Absolute
goodness. Oh, he jumped right to the right place when I described our experience. Guess what that tells me, Dave?
I know.
He's
By the way,
he's
my
been
Oilers
there.
won. I was so happy that you guys were into that huge talk there, because I was literally watching the game on another screen, man, and I'm like, oh, come on, let's do it. Oh, beauty. All right, I'll be right back, Bob, before I piss
Sure.
myself.
Yeah, but don't do that.
Individuals see their
We're all just kind of hanging out here, waiting for good things to happen. Nathan from the Quantum Show, how you doing? Science Bob, what's going on?
Same old, different day.
Why do you seem louder? Talk again.
Hello, radio.
Oh, my speakers for some reason. Talk again.
Hello, radio. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There we go. For some reason, I turned my speakers down, but the volume went up.
I don't know. I like my new microphone.
You sound beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of these jobs.
Derek Galloway finally shows up. Thank you, Derek. All right.
I think you got a fan, Mike.
So right now the swear count is 3 shits and a fuck.
What? Not
yeah.
me though, right? It was Bob. It was
Yeah,
Bob
yeah,
on
yeah.
that.
Well, I said shit. I said shit a couple of times anyway.
Yeah, see, I knew it was
That was
him,
on the break,
man.
Bob.
You
That was
can't
on
bring him on this show. You can't bring Bob on here. He's
I know.
science.
Bob is just dangerous.
Bob Science Swears is his nickname.
Exactly.
No, if that was me, I'm sorry. That was probably me. I have a potty mouth, and I apologize for all of that.
Here we go.
Tell-
5 seconds, guys.
Tell
5
the
seconds.
FAA.
5 seconds.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. You know your fans are ready for the fan party when Derek puts in the chat room, I was getting my chest shaved by my wife preparing for Vegas. Yeah, certain things we just didn't need to know. But we're glad all of you are here listening on in. And for those coming to Vegas next week, God, we hope we're all going to have a good time, aren't we? Yeah, we are, for the second annual fan party. And next year, we got to get Dr. Michael Masters there. We do. We got to get him there. Anyways, big thank you to all you tuning on in. And if you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, thank you. And digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Gastrolith. Gastrolith is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam says the password or sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Science Bob and Friends continues with Dr. Bob McGwier and our special guest tonight, No, it's not Derek Galloway. No, it's Dr. Michael Masters from Montana Tech.
I'll be Derek Galloway. I don't know who that is, but I'll be.
He was your fan. He was shouting Masters.
All right. Well, I'm him now. I'm Derek
Tech.
Galloway. I'm Derek Galloway now.
Exactly.
Introduce me as that from now on, Dave.
I am Pam, so it doesn't really matter.
Pam, Derek.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. All right, Dr. McGwier. Let's get serious here. UFOs, UAPs. We see a lot going on, and yet a couple weeks ago, Sean Kirkpatrick, the head of Arrow, Bob, states that there is no sufficient evidence of UFOs and extraterrestrial life visiting this planet. What's your thoughts, Bob, from the inside?
I know people who went and talked to him. And that's just crap. What can I say? I can't say more than that. I don't want to go to jail.
Well, we need a little bit more than that out of you. This is good stuff. This is quality juice here.
I know people that went and talked to him and told them stuff. They told him where to find stuff, told him where to look at stuff, and told him where the freezers were. What can I tell you? I listened to every syllable. I parsed it really clearly. And what because he can't get past. He only has Title 10 authorities and not Title 50 authorities. What does that mean? That means he has military, active military combat level intelligence clearance to look at things, but he doesn't have intel community clearance to look at things that the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the FBI, so forth and so on. He doesn't have access to anything they got. He does not have those authorities. He's hamstrung. It's a mess. And he's got to have these authorities. The people that will tell him where the bodies are, where the craft are, they are serious people. They do not have a mechanism to securely talk to them. They do not have if they use their work mechanisms to transmit classified information, their work security office can monitor what they're sending. Arrow needs a secure method that will allow them to transmit stuff.
So why aren't we talking to the people that do have that?
I'm sorry, say again?
Why aren't we talking to the people that do have that information? Why is there a go-between?
They are sworn to secrecy by their officers in charge, and they have non-disclosure agreements. So they have to leave and go to the Senate or transmit stuff to the Senate or the House by some communication channel. There is no communication channel for them to start the process because they have to use their work processes to talk to this other process. There has to be another mechanism, or this entire NDAA and everything it started to do will fail. People will not come forward if they don't feel safe.
Yeah. But that was the thing, though, right? Like they introduced some protocols that would protect whistleblowers.
They did.
The Navy did, at least. Was it across the board, or was it just the Navy?
Yes, they can go to the Senate and talk to them. They can't set up stuff and prove they should go from their work. They need another channel to set it up so they can go talk to them. It's just this arcane stuff of living in the classified world.
Yeah.
Everything is still.
Do you think it's a dog and pony show, or is there actually something trying to happen? Because that all sounds like kind of a circular thing that they've been doing the whole time. Like
it is a snafu.
I would like to think the Air Force or certain members of the Air Force throughout the 1940s to 1980s know everything. Those people still exist or passed on that information. So are we still like scraping to get that, or is it just, have we moved on to like what is now the agency that they put in front of us that we can ask questions to that we'll get no answers from?
Okay, so a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm going to tell them how it is. The National Security Council, under the authority of the National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, can sit down and write down a recommendation that says to the executive, here's what's needed so these people can come talk. And Biden can do it with one sentence on a piece of paper. And I think he's the only person that can do it. So if we start getting disclosure, you will know he signed the piece of paper.
Interesting. It starts from that high up.
That high, because he is the only person who can break all these barriers with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah. So
he can issue an order. He is the commander in chief.
Do you think Majestic 12 though is a real thing back in the day?
I do.
Is there any legacy of that? Like, is there still like a Majestic 2? Because all of the other
I am
9
sure.
have died, or
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's
there's
was
got
a
to be
causal.
somebody still alive, right?
I think a lot of this stuff is coming out now because the old guard is dying. The old
You
guard
think
that held
that's
it all, they're dying.
You think that's the only reason it's coming out?
I think that's
or
a
it
major.
helps?
I think that's a major part of what's
I
happening.
could see that. Like, it's been long enough that it seems like.
And just if you read any of the really good books on Roswell, Tom and Don's book on the Roswell witness to Roswell, if you read those books, you know that crimes were committed by the United States government. And if all of that comes flooding out all at once, there's no way to control what will happen. And so they're scared to death of these crimes being admitted to in a way that doesn't protect the legacy.
Right. Yeah, that's a really powerful thing. Like,
We can't have a trillion. We can't have $1 trillion worth of lawsuits. We just can't do it.
No, even the fact that they lied about everything, just the fact that they lied about everything. What if we all just knew that? What faith do we have in any government institution at that point now?
I believe this one secret and all the secrecy set up around it and all the black money and black projects has been a cancer at the center of our government. And that cancer has spread. It's metastasized. Because the American people, a large number of smart people know the government's lied to them. They don't trust them.
I want to jump in here for a second because getting back to the...
You're not allowed to, Dave. This is me and Bob's show now. You sat out too long. This is Bob.
He's watching.
Bob,
the
what do you want
Oilers.
to talk about?
He's
no,
talking
I'm
to
kidding.
the
Of
Edmonton
course, get in here,
Oilers.
Dave. Jesus Christ, of course.
In regards to the comments that Sean Kirkpatrick made that UFOs are not here, no aliens or extraterrestrials are here.
Oh, he was more careful than that, Dave.
Well, pretty much what he said. Okay. Let's go to what Dr. Gary Nolan followed up with.
Right.
Okay, where Gary basically came out and said, we need to believe we needed the anecdotal stories of experiencers. They've led us to some incredible paths in scientific discovery. We need these reports to come in. I thought that was a really good shot over the bow of Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick was basically saying, we don't believe they're here. There's no evidence they're here. We wish the public would just shut up to everything and let us do our jobs.
Well, what he is trying to do is force everyone to think scientific method under laboratory conditions. Well, Dr. Masters does anthropology. He knows he's not going to get all these humans to experiment from the past, so he can have laboratory conditions to do scientific method. If we could find one parameter of all these observations, that we could sample all these observations, a sufficiently large sample that we could say, hey, I got a 5 sigma result here over random that says this happens in these experiences. Dave, that's the definition of a dadgum physics discovery, is a 5 sigma event. You will have discovered a thing. You have to do observational science all the time with your work.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, God, where do you even start with that? Yes, it's what science is usually. With UFO phenomenon, it's complicated. It's not the same thing that we do with normal science. But
Yep.
You're right. We can still approach it with different methods that give us insight into what we might be able to do, or what we might be able to at least study, and come up with a framework for what we could study within the guise of basic science. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. Like, I think there's a disconnect between what we are able to do, what we know we will be able to do, and what the history of science is. And I feel like we're at this weird kind of like prepubescent point in that. Like we got pubic hair coming in. We're like, well, all right, I feel like an adult, but I still can't necessarily get a boner, but I kind of can. But at the same time, like my armpits don't stink yet, and there's no hair in there, but chicks are looking at me different. So maybe, yeah, I think that's where we are with the UFO phenomenon right now.
I think that's a wonderful analogy. I'm telling you. I just
Wow.
what do you say to that, Dave?
I'm just happy to be here right now. Just happy to be here.
I want some of that brown stuff he's drinking. That's what I want. I want some of that same stuff. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That is fantastic. Okay, so
it's a very real analogy for a very real reason.
It is.
We're all stuck here, man. We're all going through puberty, and none of us know how to do it. We're all teenagers in the UFO community.
Well, there's been no organizational authority. None whatsoever. We are a random collection of miscreants, thieves, robbers, fakers, blabbermouths, religious fanatics.
Yeah, and because of that, we get called whatever they want us to be called. They get to make up whatever we are.
Whatever ufology is, we can make it up because there is no organizing principles.
Exactly. It's not, and it is, even if you are approaching it scientifically, that still gets ripped out from you because it's like, it's not science in the true sense of the term. That's how we started this show. It's not. It's not science in the true sense of how we know science is, but we're trying to apply these basic scientific principles to this thing that doesn't necessarily fit in there, but we need to keep doing that as long as we can to try to get at the root of whatever this is, because what else is there? That's all we have right now.
Right. Until we had no clue about electricity and magnetism until Maxwell came along and gave us organizing principles. That's about where we are. We're pre-Maxwell and ufology.
Pre-Maxwell, absolutely.
Dave, are there any audience questions?
We do have a couple of audience questions. And
is it about pubic hair?
No.
I'm not going to answer it then.
Justin, who has great hair, by the way, much better than yours, Michael.
Oh,
no, it's true. I'm sorry.
It cuts me deep, man.
I know. It was even better than when my hair was long. And yeah, he should be on a Pantene commercial. Right? Justin is asking, if future humans come back in time to fix or change something about humanity, would it actually change the future humans' timeline?
No, but block space time. It's all.
I would love. Oh my god. Actually, can I say jizz on your show? Is that a bad word?
No, you cannot say.
Okay.
That.
Well, I wasn't gonna say jizz anyway, but I would love if Science Bob McGwier took this, because I'm so sick of talking about the block.
Look.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Go ahead.
Time is spread out from beginning to end. And if somebody comes back, they were up here. And so they came back to see what's going on back here. And they already knew they were up there. So everything that happened to make them up there is going to happen. You can't change stuff that will stop that person from coming back. Adolf Hitler was always going to exist. If they came back and tried to kill him, they couldn't, because he existed. And you have an entire future history with him in it. It just won't work, Dave.
All right, let's go to the second question we have from Jules. We got 5 minutes to go till we go to break. What are your thoughts on dark matter phenomena and the Hutchinson effect? Is there some supertemporal entities manipulating dark matter?
No idea about supertemporal entities manipulating dark matter, but we do have a pretty good idea given a recent experiment between weakly interactive massive particles and these little tiny insignificant mass particles called anyons. And the recent experiments show us the tiny particles. Now, this is the first of a bunch of experiments. So we think we need a fifth force and the particles that will be carrying the fifth force and so forth. We're going to have to extend the standard model a little bit further to include what we now think and we have observational evidence for being dark matter.
Excellent. You want to chime in on that, Dr. Michael Masters?
I do. I would like to add that I just met Science Bob tonight. I found out recently that him and I have been friends on Facebook for
a long time.
And then I was like, oh shit, that's sorry. Oh crap. Sorry, I see you push the button. Oh crap, that's Science Bob. Science Bob is Bob McGwier. Of course I knew who that is. So I connected those dots. And also outside of my own appreciation of him as a human being, I think he's absolutely right about everything he just said.
Awesome. That's our audience.
Michael knows I'm an opinionated SOB from reading my pages.
Same, man. Same.
Max wants to know, Bob, what's up with the 1.6 gigahertz signal source on Skinwalker Ranch?
I think we're going to find that whatever machinery is opening these portals and or are cloaking the craft that they ran the rocket into is emitting a 1.6 gigahertz signal. Some process, I mean, 1.6 gigahertz at a power that causes bad things to happen doesn't come from the center of nowhere into the middle of a mess. So something is doing it. And now we have evidence of something over the triangle that can be run into by a rocket and causing it to cato and explode. We watched it on the show.
But do you have any thoughts of what it is? Like what?
I think it's a cloaked craft.
Cloaked craft. Like
I think it's a cloaked craft.
But what is the origins of the UFO that is cloaked? And why would it be cloaked in the first place?
Okay, so what do I think? I'm just going to be wildly speculative and anti-scientific.
Go for it. Go brother.
I think something crashed and buried itself and gouged out the Uinta Basin, and it's still underneath the ground. And these are its good old boys coming back to check on it to make sure it isn't going to ruin this part of the galaxy.
Still there. Still chilling under the. How do you pronounce that?
It's got 0 point energy, so it'll last forever.
Yeah, is that why their beer's only 3.5% alcohol there?
Man, they don't want anybody to know about it? That's really low level bad stuff.
Beers are terrible.
Their beers are terrible. Why do they do it?
It's that green skunk beer.
Yeah, you guys need to try some cocaine. Let me tell you that.
Cocaine. God, what are you guys into in Vancouver, man?
Cocaine.
Oh, cocaine. Yeah, that's even worse than cocaine, brother. God.
It's named after a fish.
Yeah, I know. And I've drank it, and it's horrible. It's the worst beer I've ever drank in my entire life. We have that here in Montana. We're not that far from you.
Well, I realize that. I understand that. You have to have it cold, not heated up like you like it.
That's true. We do heat it up to at least 150 degrees. We drink it like tea here.
By the way, Dr. Michael, how's your moose?
My moose is good, brother. I used to take his poop and turn them into earrings and sell them on Etsy. And I sold like kind of a lot of earrings of the moose poop. My moose has become famous in a way.
Seen him recently?
No, actually, I haven't. Why
I'm
Why
sorry.
do you have to bring that up, Dave?
I don't know.
I told you before the show I didn't want to talk about that, and then you bring that up now.
Well, let's continue with the science talk. No more moose talk on Spaced Out Radio. Science Bob and friends with Dr. Michael Masters. We're having a great time tonight. Hope you are as well. We'll be right back.
No, actually, I haven't seen the moose for a while, but he does that every year. He takes off, does his thing, plows some chicks, comes back, drops his antlers. It's the same thing. He's our best friend, though. He's so cool.
Have you found? Is he dropping his antlers in your yard?
No, and it sucks because we see him in our yard. He has the antlers. He goes away. Literally the next day, he's back without his antlers, and I'm like, oh, where the fuck did he drop those? And we have gone and walked around the canyon so many times looking for him, but I don't know. Anyway, are we taking a break?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
You got time to take a bathroom break.
I can take a bath if I want.
Sure. Take us to the bathtub with you.
You want to come with me, Dave? You want to
I'm there.
and take a bath together?
Sure. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I need to go to Montana and spend a weekend or 3 with him.
Oh my God. You know what? Every show we do with him, it's an adventure, and I love him, Bob. I absolutely love him.
The thing is, I prepped for this by looking at other talks he had done with straight, boring interviewers, including some that I really like. And he was not as relaxed as with you.
Oh, yeah. We have a good time, man. I love him. I don't even mind editing this show for the radio stations. I really don't even mind doing it because I just love him so much. And he's so smart. So smart.
Oh, he is smart, and he's he is a universal. He's kind of a universal scientist. He's got his own particular area, but he knows enough of the other areas to shape his research.
Yes,
and it's really good to see. And his university, etc., have honored him recently, even though he's writing these woo books.
Yeah, your video froze up there for a quick
second. I said that he has been honored by his university and multiple things around him recently for his academics in these woo books.
Oh yeah.
One honor after another.
Yep.
His department head is cool. Very cool. He told him, what are you asking me for? Go do the book. This is science. You're supposed to be doing it.
We got a few more audience questions when we come out of the break.
Good. Let's do that. That ought to be fun.
So, Science Bob, people want to know, are you going to be bringing the overalls with you?
I will wear the overalls.
And Random Guy wants to know, because he didn't recognize you without the dragon tattoo on your face.
I like well, she can do face painting while she's there.
Yeah, you and Random Guy could get matching dragons.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I think I want to be a Borg.
A Borg, very nice.
Yeah, so on my Facebook page, you can see me as 2 different kinds of dragons and a Borg.
Very nice.
With my skin ripped off and looking at the metal skeleton underneath.
Mm-hmm.
She is really talented. Jesus Christ, she's good.
Dueling dragons. Gonna be whipping your tails out.
And those intricate designs, 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
She's unbelievable.
Oh, we're gonna have a fun time this next half hour.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yes, he's in fine form.
God bless him. I love him. I freaking love him.
I'm glad he's feeling relaxed. It it is a late evening.
Mm-hmm. All right, big thank you tonight to W. Decker ×4, Bob, Lala, Gizmo, Deb, Justin, Izzy Stradlin, and Derek for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. If you haven't yet already, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. We'd greatly appreciate it. And yeah, we're going to get going here in about 20 seconds. Final half hour of Science Bob and Friends. And standing on deck is Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. And then little Timmy Senor returns. And we're going to get going here in about 5 seconds. Hold on. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with Science Bob and Friends, and Dr. Bob McGwier is hanging on out with us, along with our special guest tonight, Dr. Michael Masters, who will join us momentarily. Bob, we're having a good time tonight, aren't we?
It's awesome. Good conversation. Everybody relaxed. It's good.
Well, let's get to some audience questions here.
Well, let him put his headphones on. All right, now tell the audience question.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here. And let's start off with Tony in the UK. He wants to know, what do you guys think happened with the recent Hadron Collider fire-up? Has there been any developments?
I haven't seen any reports.
No idea.
Me either. Sorry, Tony.
Sorry, Tony. I would like to answer that question, honestly, but I
just
have
have
no
heard
knowledge.
reports.
All right, let's go to Derek. They say that 1420 hertz is alien frequency and it is banned. Any knowledge why that would be banned? Bob, you know your signals and frequency.
I think he's talking about 1420 megahertz or 1.4 gigahertz. And so he's talking about the hydrogen line. And so that's banned by people for people on Earth and other places to transmit on that. So it won't interfere with astronomers who are listening there. That's the Balmer line of hydrogen. It's a quantum mechanical thing. And I think he has the units wrong. It's not hertz, it's gigahertz.
No, I think he has the numbers right, where it's 1.42 gigahertz.
Yes,
is what it takes when
you're exactly
when lightning strikes your craft, and then you can travel back through time, right? Isn't that how it works in Back to the Future?
I think that's what it is. 1.2 gigawatts.
Gigawatts. No, you're right. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. That was a very
1.21.
different. 1.21. I'm sorry, I saw 420 is obviously a joke because that's where you smoke weed. But if Doc and Marty McFly had been smoking weed that whole time, then definitely they would have gone Back to the Future.
And they've been smoking banana peel and then throw it in the.
They could have smoked whatever they wanted. They could have
Exactly.
smoked that banana peel. They could have thrown a bunch of bongs in that thing, and it still would have gone.
Turn the capacitator into the thing.
Right,
What if the capacitator was a bong the whole time? What if that was the underlying message of Back to the Future movies? Smoke more weed. Smoke weed every day.
Jenny is asking, can you use earth sciences to prove something that exists in and functions in the quantum?
Yes. Yeah. Look, yes. So I can go downstairs and get my laser and fire it at 2 slits and watch it make a wave pattern on the screen behind it. And then I can observe which slit the photons go through and watch the wave pattern collapse. I can do that in my basement. You can do it at home.
It's still from your point of view.
It
It's still
is
your perception
I completely
of
agree.
the way that photon passes.
Yes.
The way that photon perceives time is completely different than yours, Bob.
Exactly. And Wheeler was the first person to show how subjective it was by doing the quantum erasure experiment, where he looked after the photon went through the slit and it collapsed the thing. So that means it went back in time
or it didn't go back in time. It was just always the same thing.
Exactly.
The beginning and the end of time are the same, and that's what we need to start to understand.
Yeah.
They're not. Can I say this one time, Dave?
No.
God. Please get ready for your. Can you push the button? Can you just push the button?
Go ahead.
They're not different. It's the same thing. The beginning and the end are the same thing. We need to stop conceptualizing it like this thing that's the beginning and the end.
I think
that's so primitive. It's so primitive. That's some troglodyte ass shit, man. We need to see it as the same thing.
I think Wheeler's experiment is all the proof you need that that's true.
Yes, but we don't need physics to know that. We don't need physicists who did awesome research in the 1960s. Don't get me wrong. Love Wheeler. He's my boy. All of them. But we don't need that anymore. We just need to realize that there's a difference between the way we perceive time in our physical bodies with our brains and the way time actually exists outside of that. It's a disconnect, and that's how we should focus on this.
So the message on screen, Michael, is from the guy that owned an SR-71. That's Jim Goodall.
What does it say? Read it to me.
One of my favorite people, Science Bob, and the golden voice of Central British Columbia, Dave Scott. See you all in Vegas. He's a good guy. All right. What we got next, Dave?
All right. We have a question from Max. Maybe 1.6 gigahertz has some 0-point resonance significance. What do you guys think?
I don't know the answer. I would have to construct an experiment to even test it. But look, we have to figure out, okay, so the only evidence we have of physical evidence we have of 0-point energy. We have math equations, but do we have physical experimental evidence? The answer is we have physical experimental evidence of 0-point energy. And what is it? You take 2 metal plates and you put them really close to each other, and you begin to measure a force being exerted on them from the outside, pushing them together, even though you think there shouldn't be, but they're pushing them together. And what does that mean? That means the virtual particles that are between the 2 plates are restricted to a subset of the particles that are outside the vertical plates. So there's many more banging it from the outside to the inside, so it pushes them together. That is the experimental evidence we have that 0-point energy exists. What that has to do with 1.6 gigahertz, I don't have a clue.
You want to chime in on that one, Mike?
I could, but I would just be an asshole that said something with no idea what he was talking about. It would make a dad joke probably, and they'd be like, So, I'm not going to do that. I could.
Well, then
Let's move on to the next one.
Let's move on to the next one. Science Bob, did regular sightings for you begin before or after you visited Chris Bledsoe?
After, and I took a hitchhiker home, and I have seen things ever since. Now, consciousness is involved in this. I don't have any doubt of it. And just, I'll tell you how I've come to realize this. The minute I had a reading by Lala that allowed me a conversation with my deceased mother, I understood that the universe was weirder than I ever dreamed. And then since she and I spend 7 days a week together, I've seen nothing but weird ever since we moved in together. From the first week we were here until now.
I think we should stop using the word weird, because what you just described is the same thing a lot of people feel all the time.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
I would like to hear more about that, actually, without the word weird.
Well, so I'll just tell a small piece of the story.
The piece. Please tell us all the piece.
Okay,
this is beautiful to me.
Okay, so my mother passed in April of last year. Lala had seen me on the Dave with Dave. She had been watching Dave since her Dave passed away, and said that Dave with a beard on his face looked to her like the Dave that had passed, and so she listened to him every night, and he would put her to sleep. She might not even listen to the show, but he would put her, and I began to appear on the show. So she got a psychic hint that my mother was going to pass, and reached out to me and said, when your mother passes, I'd like to give you a reading. I know this sounds weird, just take it away. 3 weeks later, my mother passed. My brothers and I buried her, and I came back to my home, thought about it for a while, contacted her and said, give me a reading. I'm willing to listen. I'm a skeptic, but I'm willing to listen.
Right.
She began interacting and telling me stuff that only my mother and I knew. No one else that I can think of knew it. And they were all true. She batted 1,000. Then I thought, well, that's stuff that she and I both knew. And almost immediately, in response to my doubt, my mother began telling her things to tell me that my mother knew, that neither I nor any of my brothers knew. But we could collectively go and find friends and relatives that confirmed what my mother had told her. Okay, so then at the end of this reading, she says to me, there is a little feisty lady walked up. She's about 5'2", described her and said, I can barely understand her. Her Southern accent is so thick, but she continues to say this word over and over. I don't know that I have it right, but it sounds like Tweety. And Michael, I lost it. When I was 1 year old, I stayed a lot of time with my grandmother, and my grandmother called me Sweetie. And since I couldn't say it, I named my grandmother for me and all her grandchildren Tweety. And at the end of this, she said, awesome. wait, she's got a poodle in her arms. And I went, oh yeah. She raised poodles, and that's her favorite poodle, Pierre.
Wow.
When you get all this weird add up, you go,
Yep.
I do not know or understand the universe as well as I thought it did. I don't have to. I just have to accept that this is
challenge
real.
Is and that's synchronicity. That's whatever we want to call it. That's the reality we live in.
Yep.
That's the real thing.
It is.
The
and
other
consciousness
stuff
is going to be at the bottom of it somehow.
Exactly. It's a very interesting place that we're trying to find our way out of.
Yep. What else you got, Dave?
Well, when we talk about alien contact, or the contact that goes along with that, well, maybe not an alien, but just the phenomena in general, why do you guys think that the phenomena tends to play with people? So, Bob, you're not going to get the same experiences as Michael, or I'm not going to get the same experiences as you guys. Why does it seem to be individualized, in your opinion, Bob?
So Grant Cameron calls this the theory of wow, and I subscribe to that in the following sense: they give you stuff and let you see stuff and trick you stuff and do weird stuff, and that you call weird or somebody else would call weird, but you're just experiencing it. But what is the purpose? The purpose is to do to them, all of them, exactly what was done to me. Let me know that I do not perceive reality around me, that it is different from what I believe or what my perceptions are. And if enough people believe this, we can advance. If enough people have these different experiences, it's unpredictable, it's weird and woo and whatever, enough people will begin to think, well, maybe we don't have all the answers. Maybe we need to calm down and just think a little bit and relax.
How about you, Mike?
I think that's one of the best questions to ask right now, Dave, and that's why I came on your show, even though as tired as
Anything?
doing this, is you ask those questions. And I completely agree with what he said. There's a sense that we're doing things as ourselves, but there's also a collective consciousness that exists. And that collective consciousness isn't necessarily tangential to ego. It's just so hard for us to comprehend because it's so far removed from what we are as people and our everyday experiences. But once you see and feel that hive mind consciousness, which I think a lot of people have throughout the course of their lives, there's really no other way to conceptualize it.
And I can tell you that hive mind's in control of my house now.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Go with that. That's a very good thing. And I do think it's kind of like a forward and backward looking thing too. I don't want to draw a line in the sand, but there's a line that needs to be drawn in the sand because there's a forward version of that and there's the backward version where people look to something that is the past, and that is a dividing line. And I think there's going to be a point in our future where that line becomes important.
I think it will separate humanity into two groups.
I think it almost isn't humanity. There's humans, there's humanity, and then there's something else.
Yes, I agree.
I think it's not even about it's not a perception. It's just reality of the future. There's future looking and there's past looking. I'm sorry that I made that more complicated than your question was.
I think it's pretty clear.
Okay, so if the phenomena affects each and every one of us differently yet equally at the same time, is there any way that we could actually eventually predict the phenomena as it's going to happen so we could get recorded scientific data off of it? Bob?
We can go and find easily in all the stories and anecdotes, etc., of experiencers that have seen things in a group. And each and every single one of them in some of these groups sees something different, perceives something different. How do you do science when you can't even get 5 people to agree on what they see? So we're going to have to get past it and just accept that something's happened.
Yeah, and when we're talking about like huge ramifications of society and politics and religion, like how do we just say yes, we're at that point? This thing is much bigger than a lot of people realize, and the disclosure process is much more complicated than a lot of people realize, and has been for a very long time. We're just finally getting to the point where it's going to be something that we can all wrap our heads around. And it's both good and bad. It's exciting, but it's also scary. It's delicious, but it's also the worst thing you've ever tasted in your mouth.
Depending on your point of view.
Depending on your point of view. It's going to be this thing, depending on your point of view, as Science Bob just said, Bob McGwier just said, it's going to be a different taste in your mouth.
And I think everybody better get ready, because 4 to 5 years from now, we'll see it.
Hopefully. I don't think so, but hopefully.
Well,
you and I always agree to disagree on that one, though.
Well, I don't believe it's going to come from the government. The hive mind is telling us, and all these experiences you and I listen to, that's when it's going to happen. They're in charge, not us.
This is the thing. Let's explore this for a little bit. Dave, why do you think it's not that? Why do you think that or is it a time point that you're upset with?
No, I think it would be coming within the next 50 years, just not within the next 5.
50. Why? Why do you think it's that far out?
Because I'll be dead by then, and everything good always happens when I'm dead.
All right, but regardless of that, why do you think? Like, why couldn't it be in the next, outside of your own perceptions of those things?
No,
why not in the next 5 years?
On a serious note, I think the governments of the world, led by the United States government, will do everything in their power to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Dave, we talked about this on the last one.
It's not up to them. It's not up to them.
It's not up to them.
It's not up to them. They're going to be given no choice but to accept what happens.
Well, we'll see when it happens.
How are you just going to dismiss that? You brought on these two people to talk to you about
two
that.
Scientists.
You brought on Science
you.
Bob and you brought on Science Mike to say, and you're like, whoa, fuck these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. Push the button, Dave. I mean, do you not hear what we're saying? He has very many interactions with these entities, and he's saying it's happening. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'm saying the same thing.
You don't even got aliens, Masters. You don't even got aliens.
His dad did.
We're saying the same thing, aren't we?
His dad did. His dad had aliens.
You guys.
I'm just saying, Dave, like, maybe you should be more open-minded.
I'm trying to be open-minded.
You're an experiencer, Dave. How can you not have an open mind?
Well, that's because I keep getting ripped off and they're not landing in my backyard and taking me for a ride, Bob.
That's true. I am ready for a ride. I think they're going to give me one.
I hope so. Maybe we could.
I'll give you one, Bob.
Okay. Maybe we could collectively use our consciousness and call it into on top of the Golden Nugget. Park it right there, and we'll get up and go.
That'd be cool. Oh, you've got all the right people to call them in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And little Jimmy Goodall's going to be like, move over, guys. I'm flying.
I'll move over. I'm flying. And I'm going to take it back to my museum.
See if we can power this thing up faster than the SR-71. We got about a minute to go here, Bob. Really appreciate a very fun and interesting night here on the Mighty SOR with you and Dr. Michael Masters. It's been a hell of a night.
Oh, it's been good.
Great night of information.
I hope the audience was entertained as much as I've been.
You know what, Bob? I will shake your hand over the screen because. Wait, are you right-handed? That's all I wanted. I feel you, brother. I feel you. We're in the same space.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Dave, for bringing us into this space, because there's a lot of things happening that most people don't understand. But
Well,
we talked about some of them in this space right now, and I feel appreciative of you offering that to us.
I appreciate you, Michael Masters, Science Bob. We'll see you in Las Vegas next week. Coming up next, Steve Stockton brings us Among the Missing. Then it's the return of little Timmy Senor. The Timbit is back for the UFO report. We'll be right back. That was fun.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, we can't be strangers.
No, I don't think we should be.
No, we can't be strangers.
Sounds romantic.
No, it's not. Well, we might actually have a bromance, but we can't
No,
be
we don't.
strangers.
Hey, so I want to tell you, are we still, do I do this? I don't know.
Yeah, you can do that.
I don't know if we're on the air or not. I
We're
don't trust
still
people
on,
if they're on the air.
We're live
we're
on
still
YouTube.
Are we on the air?
We're on
All right,
YouTube.
never mind. I'll reach out to you then, because
Yeah.
I got some things to tell you that are, I'd say, important to the whole progress of the situation.
Yes, and I'll tell you what it is they told me to do.
All right. Then I want to be involved in that one. I'm teasing. Gentlemen, see you later.
See you, pal.
Good night.
It was good. Good night.
Great show, boys.
See ya.
Take care. We're out. And I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the hour 3. Oh, was that fun? That was fun. All right. We've got about 1 minute to go here. If you're a VIP for Vegas next week, you're going to be getting an email from me tomorrow regarding a little bit of a change in plans for the VIP party. And we will let you know where and when. So you'll get the email from me tomorrow. Hey, Dutch UFO. Excuse me. Hi, Dutch UFO. How you doing? It's good to have Timmy back. We'll see him next week in Vegas, too. Yeah, make sure you get your picture with Tim. He's very photogenic. He's got the smile that only movie stars have. Here we go. 5 seconds.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Gastrolith. Gastrolith is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again where we bring in Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing for another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. A little monster. Seeing is believing, right? Or some things seem by the naked eye just too fantastic and therefore beyond belief. Chris Walker believes that he and a group of his friends witnessed such a sight just before midnight on July 4th, 1990, when he was 14 years old. Chris, now 46, is a no-nonsense type of fellow. A family man with a wife and 2 children, he's worked in the construction industry for over 3 decades. He's not the type to lie or just make up stories. Chris later told a local researcher that he and his buddies had been sitting on a stack of old wooden skids behind a factory building located on the east side of Henderson, Kentucky that night. One of the boys had pilfered a pack of Camel filterless smokes from his old man and passed it around. The mischievous quintet was sitting there watching the fireworks and smoking cigarettes. All of them knew they were too young to be doing it. One of them was only 10 years old, but doing what wasn't allowed was a way to be cool. Still, the 10-year-old was in Chris' care, and if they'd gotten caught that night, he said it would have been his ass. All around them were dumpsters and many stacks of old skids from the factory. Chris was busily engaged in the seemingly endless endeavor of being cooler than his other teenage buddies, tougher and braver, when all their boasts were cut short by a loud banging sound coming from somewhere close behind them. They turned to look and saw, about 30 feet away, a wooden crate sitting atop a rusted old BFI dumpster. Good old Browning Ferris Industries. The crate was moving each time the noise rang out, and the youths realized, with much astonishment, that whatever was making the noise was inside the crate, trying to beat its way out. The crate started to rock back and forth until it finally toppled from the edge of the dumpster and fell to the ground with a crash. What happened next, he said, was the most frightening moment in his young life. Slowly rising from the wooden debris was a dwarf-like creature, covered from head to toe, except for its face and hands, in short, dark hair of uniform length. The street lamp just down at the corner illuminated the thing clearly and reflected red in the creature's eyes. Fully erect, it stood only around 3.5 feet tall. It started to look around, frantically turning this way and that, as if disoriented or lost. The boy stared wide-eyed at the thing, glued to the spot by the numbing fear which froze them all. It had pointed ears, like a pig's, he said, and red eyes with a flat, wide nose. Chris further described the creature as having a mangy appearance. Some of the hair on its body was thin or bald, and the skin beneath was dark brown, while on its bare face and hands the skin seemed a lighter shade. The group watched as the thing continued to look around bewilderedly for about 10 seconds. Then, when the reality of what they were seeing finally sank in, their paralysis broke, and they all fled the scene with much haste, running all the way back to Chris' house, nearly half a mile away, without stopping. Of course, no one believed them when they told their stories. When Chris spoke about the encounter in 2006, he was able to give even more details about the entity's appearance. He said it was muscular, and it had the overall bodily proportions of a midget. Although the arms were of normal length, it had short bowed legs. They couldn't see its feet. Moreover, it seemed like it had been wearing clothing of some sort, which was threadbare and torn, hanging off its arms and legs in short, ragged strips. When the group fled, they dared not look back, he said, for fear that it might be giving chase. The next year, 1991, Chris was surprised by an impromptu visit from another friend who was not involved in or even knew of the aforementioned experience. Something seemed wrong with him to the point that Chris had blatantly asked him what was the matter. The youth was not willing to tell, at first, for fear of ridicule, but at length he acquiesced and said that, as he was driving over the Washington Street Bridge, which spanned Canoe Creek near Lincoln Avenue, he heard what sounded like a woman screaming in pain. Then, suddenly, a small, dark, hair-covered little thing ran out from under the bridge on 2 legs and up into the mouth of a large drainage tunnel. It stopped then and turned toward the passing vehicle, letting out another high-pitched scream. It had red eyes and pointed ears. I still have absolutely no idea what that thing was, he said in 2019, but that was the scariest moment of my life.
And that's why we love Steve Stockton around here from his YouTube channel, Among the Missing. And if you want, you could go over to his channel. We recommend it. Head on over to Among the Missing on YouTube, youtube.com/Among the Missing, to make sure that you lock in that subscribe button and ring that bell as well. Lots of great stories there for you at any time you want to listen. Now, from the scary stories to the stars above, we bring back little Timmy Senor in the UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Timmy, it's good to have you back, my friend, and it's always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. And you've been dealing with some family issues the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, and we want to say thank you to Random Guy for filling on in, and our Keith Andrews as well. I hope things are going better over there, man.
Oh, yeah. Life is always going to throw us some hiccups, but we get through it. We persevere. Thanks for asking. And thanks to chat and everyone that's thrown out their love and support. That's taken very, very deeply and kindly. Thanks very much.
All right. Well, we appreciate you and your love of SOR and our love for you, my friend. And Random Guy, he says hopefully Tim learned a thing or two about how to do a UFO report. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, this Random Guy.
Oh yeah.
And we got to deal with him next week in Las Vegas.
Looking forward to it. Actually, he's a big teddy bear, as we know. It's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. I could use a break for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Me too, man. Me
Yeah.
too. It's going to be a great time. And if you can't make it this year, make sure you put it on your schedule. After this year's event, we're going to try and book another event and get the dates out as early as possible. So if you can't make it this year, next year we want to see you hanging on out with us and all of our celebrity guests that'll be with us as well. Where? Don't know yet. When? Don't know yet. But we're going to make it happen, man. We are going to make it happen. Tim, I'm very curious, before we get to the UFO report, the stories you got for us tonight, Logan Paul went on his podcast, Impulsive, earlier today, and he mentioned about the UFO video that he has in his possession. And, you know, this is something that is highly controversial. James Fox, the movie director, said it's about time that Logan confirmed that he had it, because a couple weeks ago we were talking about this. Me and Random Guy got into it, and I also did a Dave 101 on it that people can find on our YouTube channel if you want to hear it in its entirety. And here we go. Logan Paul, millions upon millions of subscribers, major influencer, smart businessman. Okay, now potentially holds, according to James Fox, a UFO video that could change the way that humanity looks at this subject. And yet Paul says it's not that good. Not sure what it was. It's an old VHS type of tape, and that's the way it was filmed, on film, not digitally like today. And said, but he said the interesting part about it is when you slow it on down, the thing, whatever it is, seems to be hovering and pulsating in movement at the same time. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought that his description of how he would scroll through the video and it gave the appearance of something that Bob Lazar perhaps had described as anti-gravity kind of fit the bill. Now, I know James Fox had information about this a long time ago and probably keyed Logan Paul into, the location of this tape, and then very cleverly used a button camera to record the video without the owner of the video's permission. And his claim is that it really wasn't the property of the person that he was recording it off of anyways. And so Logan Paul doesn't feel too guilty about it. However, he's not apparently looking to profit from it. He had tried to offer the person $100,000 or so, and they refused it. So he is hesitant to release it, probably because it's not his property. At this point, I can kind of understand that. And after his viewing of it, he didn't seem too impressed. So that may be his second hesitation on whether or not he's going to, release it. I think if it was something that was groundbreaking and earth-shattering, he would have released it. He seems like the kind of person that wouldn't be a filter to something like that. And he wouldn't wait for a dollar handout necessarily for the release of that kind of information. So he seems to want to confirm it with the experts, and he has decided that he would love to run it by Bob Lazar because it seems to fit some of those descriptions that Bob described in his videos, which I find it interesting that is his choice. There's plenty of people out there, and that is his choice. I think that's a fine choice. Why not, Bob? So interesting stuff. Do I think it's earth-shattering? No, because, from especially after hearing tonight that our very own Science Bob has viewed this video and wasn't super impressed, leads me down to believe it's probably not too impressive, but I'd love to see it and be able to form my own opinion, Dave. Absolutely.
Well, you have to wonder if he'll get into legal trouble for, literally secretly recording this video after convincing the gentleman who owns the video, a guy named Chuck Clark, who in sneaking that video after offering him $100,000, which Clark denied for the video. And I just think that it's shady. And if I'm Chuck Clark, I'm definitely lawyering up on that. I mean, is there a case there? I don't know. I don't know the law or how that would work. But I mean, it's something that I am very, very interested in learning if there would be trouble there legally for Logan Paul regarding this. But on the flip side, I don't know how to put this, so I'll just say it the way it is. I think that Logan Paul, love him or hate him, with the amount of audience that he has and the younger generation that really loves this guy, okay, I think that's a way better format to bring out any sort of information or disclosure than Tom DeLonge. I really do. I may not agree with it personally, because I would love for any sort of potential confirmation or disclosure to happen from within our community, so that way we get the I told you so's. But it hits a very young generation. And no matter what Logan Paul says, love him or hate him, it's going to go viral. It's going to go right across the news outlets of mainstream media. It's going to go right across the internet. It's going to be shared millions of times by a generation that we want to have understanding this information. I know that's much different than the way I usually talk, Tim, in regards to these situations, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, and if it flowed that way, that would be incredible potential. Wouldn't that be great? It doesn't even have to be a real video in that case. It could just be potentially a real video if he was to release it. And it would still reach all of that audience and open their eyes to that potential. Now, I can see how maybe he wants to weave Bob Lazar into this to potentially ramp up the mystery, perhaps, because it is, it could be a borderline video. But I think it's also perhaps clever because it is from that era. It is on VHS, I suppose, this original, supposedly from Chuck Clark. So it is from Bob Lazar's era, and it speaks to technology that he spoke on. So I guess his choice to have Bob review it makes some sense. Would it lend credibility to the video if Bob put his stamp of approval on it? Not at all. Not at all.
No,
but it
that
would
also-
lend to the mystery of it more.
But when he opened his mouth and said, I want one guy to look at this, and I feel there's one guy who can confirm this, and that's Bob Lazar. It really shows, in my opinion, his immaturity to the subject. That's not who I would be turning a video over to.
Right.
All right. There are others. People may agree or disagree, but there is a list of others that I would turn that video over to than Bob Lazar for some sort of confirmation. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they're aviation experts or whether they're military experts or, longtime ufologists who know how video editing works. Okay. I would bring it out that way, but Bob Lazar, I mean, gee whiz. I mean, when I heard that and that started going viral on UFO Twitter today, all I could think about was everybody's teeth just grinding together. Really? Bob Lazar? Come on, Logan. But I mean, there's two sides to this story. I mean, this Logan Paul seems to be getting close to James Fox. James Fox who knows, may be using him as a conduit for information because of the amount of followers and pull that Logan Paul has. And why not? I mean, it reminds me of, when Jeremy Corbell did the Bob Lazar documentary. I went up to Jeremy privately and I said, dude, what in the hell are you putting Bob Lazar in front of Secure Team 10, a UFO channel on YouTube that has over 2 million subscribers? and that's a channel that has allegedly hoaxed videos. It has it's a channel that has a host that has been, in trouble with the law a few times, and some of them not so nice. But I asked Jeremy that question, and love it or hate it, he said, Dave, at this point I had about 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, nowhere close to 2 million. We're still not even close there. That's why we need everybody to hit subscribe on our channel. Hint, hint. All right. But he said, Dave, 10,000 subscribers you have. He goes, yes, you're a better journalist. Okay. Yes, you would probably ask better questions. He goes, but I got 2.1 million people to potentially see my movie. And as a businessman, you're a businessman too, Tim. What makes sense? What makes sense for getting advertisement for the video or the documentary out? It just, sometimes business happens. And if James Fox has that relationship with Logan Paul, who has more millions of subscribers on YouTube, on any other platform, on Instagram and every other social media, why wouldn't you take that chance? Hell, I would. Because it's going to skyrocket what I'm doing and skyrocket my profile. It's simple business.
Right. And this, perhaps this is where I'll come down the other side, where I would always balance that option with integrity. And I feel like there should be some justification and, some prevalence of rigorous science done before presenting something on that level. And so hopefully there could be that level of integrity that stays with something that gets its providence before it's released. And, here's the thing, it's 50-50, whether it's a real video or a hoax. And then there's 50-50 beyond that, whether it's UFO or ours. Obviously, because the location was Area 51. So that part of Nevada is notorious for testing our own stuff. So the chances are great that, it could be aliens being curious, but the other 50% is that it was one of our own things being tested, and they just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time shooting this video. Oftentimes alien tech has been mistaken for ours and vice versa. So who's to know?
I mean, but the continuing of the anecdotal story on this is that the UFO came over a mountain ridge where Area 51 is allegedly hiding, and then it came down and allegedly hovered over their car. So, it goes either way. It really does. Once again, I think asking for Bob Lazar's opinion on this, it shows Logan Paul's immaturity of the subject, and I don't mean that to be insultive. I'm saying that, that he's got this video, he doesn't know what to do with it, or maybe he does. He's probably talking to his legal team, but not knowing anybody else in the UFO world outside of Bob Lazar really shows that you're not really paying attention to what's going on, which is too bad, considering that he has done interviews with Fox, with Dr. Stephen Greer and a few other UFO people, where he's seen his ratings shoot way up during that time when he does those videos. And who knows, maybe he is somebody who is going to be another potential face for disclosure. I don't know. I really don't know, Tim.
He seems a little reluctant. I mean, from the interview from today, he seems a little bit reluctant to be that person. And anytime he was kind of pushed, it seemed like he's hesitating.
And his team looked very skeptical around him. From Logan Paul to the Pentagon, we're going to find out new anomaly detection systems. Well, we'll get into some science woo on the UFO Report with Tim Senor when we return for the final half hour of the show. That's good times right there, Tim.
It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope that video is real. I think I might have seen it as well. And yeah, it's not spectacular. Anyways,
well, if it's that big red orb thing that's kind of been pushed around UFO Twitter, it's
no, it's like a video that starts out inside the cab of a car, and you see a light come through the windscreen, and both people inside are freaking out, and the person, I believe, on the passenger side hops out, or is it driver's side? I'm not sure which side, but anyways, the person that's holding the camera hops out and runs behind the vehicle, and you can see this light come down and kind of scan the vehicle, and it's almost too good to be true, I guess, is kind of, the way to say it.
Kind of like Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yep, kind of like that, except, dark. It's like at night. It doesn't feel planned, but, if it was really well coordinated. And then again, if it's real, it's just kind of wow. It's hard to say. I mean, I hope that it's officially released so that the public can, go over it with a fine-tooth comb and we can talk about it here realistically.
Oh, man. Any video is going to get ripped to shreds, man.
As it should.
But considering this is the video of the century, of what it's being played up to be, this one has the potential to be torn apart.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely torn apart.
Yeah, but it does also have the potential, like you were saying, to make those headlines and get in front of a new audience. And I think that is massive. The same way To the Stars Academy brought it to the world and the headlines. Perhaps the social media audience needs a little bit of a bolster on this topic. And, I'm totally fine with the 50-50 on things, that it could be or couldn't be. The whole Bob Lazar story, I don't need it to be solved. For me personally, I don't look for resolution to historical fact that I can't prove. I'm calling it fact, historical data that can't be proven. I just, you have to accept it and move on, kind of. I don't know. There are people that can't let stuff go. I get that. They want the truth, and that's totally respectable. It's just I don't think we're historically going to get it. And that's kind of one of the stories that I'm bringing up tonight, how, even Arrow is kind of waving their hand at historical data. It's like it's too hard to corroborate or bring to the table as fact. And so they're not really looking too deeply into historical data, although they were ordered by Congress to do so. So who knows how that'll turn out.
Well, we're going to see. We are going to see very, very soon.
Yeah, and I love how the last time we were on together, you had Matt Ford on, and he was saying how people's feet are going to be held to the fire. I found that a really bold statement, that we're going to see people actually, go to prison over this stuff. That's kind of a jaw dropper if that really happens.
I don't know if we're going to see that, dude. I don't know if it'll go that far, but I mean, you just never know these days.
You never know.
You never know. I mean, you sit here and you wonder sometimes which direction is going to go. You're going to go next. And the minute you start trying to bring logic into it, boom, there's Logan Paul. Boom, there's, Christian Gillibrand doing an interview for the UFO community. It makes no sense. And just what, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, it feels like massive strides, in my personal opinion, on the topic. How much longer do you have till we're coming back?
You know what? I'll get you to hold on right there because I get a bunch of super chats.
Let's
I want
do
to say
that.
thank you. W Decker ×4, Bob, Lala, Gizmo, Deb ×2. Really appreciate that. Justin, Izzy Stradlin, Derek ×2, Obi Flett ×2, Stacy, and Random Gee for the great super chats tonight. Very much appreciate it. And here we go, everyone, with the final half hour of the show. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok, Spaced Out Radio. Little Timmy Senor is back for the UFO report. Man, we got a doozy. We're going into some technology here, Tim, regarding the Pentagon trying to track down anomalies. What's going on here?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not as exciting as we are all hoping for when you hear anomaly. This is more about Big Brother watching you and what you're up to. So the Pentagon's new anomaly detection AI software has recently been unveiled at US Specs Ops event. The software company Acerate AI just showcased its powerful new Argus dual-use anomaly detection AI agent this week. So this is coming for the Department of Defense, who is already putting to use this new technology and helping it map illicit activity around the globe. The public unveiling of the anomaly detection AI occurred recently at SOF Week 2023 at annual conference held jointly by U.S. Special Operations Command, U.S. SOCOM, and industry leaders in Tampa, Florida. At this year's event, Acerate AI announced that its powerful AI will allow the U.S. military and special operation communities to go beyond human intelligence gathering capabilities and, quote, gain the information advantage, end quote. Argus is a highly configurable dual-use anomaly detection analytical AI agent. And it reads a statement on the company's website that it continually analyzes the open source web in multiple languages to predict anomalous and nefarious behavior hidden in plain sight. So capable of assessing and understanding large amounts of volumes of data available online, the learning capabilities of Argus will allow it to search everything from news and social media to company filings and microprocessor manuals, allowing it to, quote, predict supply chain influence, software vulnerabilities, logistics resilience, viral mis- or disinformation, insider threats, and other potential challenges to U.S. security. So this is just one more example coming here from the debrief, by the way. And in fact, also, I'd love to just give a shout out to Micah Hanks here for bringing this to our attention. This is a great example of how we are using AI to detect things in our software and on the internet and all over databases all over the world, looking for quote unquote anomalies. And so, curious, Dave, now we know that there's AI searching the skies. Now they're searching our internet and databases. Do you feel like this is an invasion of information privacy, or do you think that this is a necessity in this day and age?
No, there's no more necessity for this. This is the same crap that's happening in Canada right now, where our government decided to pass internet laws that if you they hide behind the words hate speech. Okay, and in reality, if people actually take a look at it, it is about controlling what people can say and can't say on the internet, whether it's, being critical of government policy or whether it's being critical of your fellow citizen. I mean, I see this being the same way, much like China has. If you go to cities like Beijing, where there's multiple cameras on every street corner that have the ability to have face recognition. We've heard about this in the United States as well. I mean, after 9/11, we heard of many stories of people's phones being tapped by numerous government agencies. It's just another way to try and gain control. I mean, if people really cared about this, there would be nobody on TikTok, because if you read the fine print on what TikTok is very much about and how much you actually give up on your phone, from password access to social media access to all your photographs and everything. It's scary what they know, your IP addresses, everything that you're connecting to. And, it's easy to say, well, that's China doing that because TikTok is Chinese owned, but it is happening on this side of the water as well. And we shouldn't be shocked by this by any means. Let's go over to another UFO story here. You have one about 2019 West Coast UFOs that were harassing U.S. Navy ships.
Yeah, that's right. And so this is the 2019 West Coast UFOs harassing the warships that were made public back when Arrow was first formed. And so, according to the U.S. Department of Defense, the data related to the UAP that swarmed U.S. warships off the West Coast in 2019 is set to be reviewed by Arrow, and its origin has not definitively been determined at this point. So, speaking specifically about a triangular-looking craft that was filmed from the USS Russell in July of 2019. Pentagon spokesperson Susan Go told Liberation Times that in this quote, as noted by Scott Bray, Deputy Director for Naval Intelligence, during a congressional hearing in May of 2022, the UAPTF was reasonably confident that the triangles correlated to UAS aerial, or in this case, unmanned aerial systems in the area, given that the triangles appeared in videos from different occasions where U.S. Navy assets observed a number of small UAS nearby. And in this quote, she continues that, as with all UAP cases, it is inherited. Arrow is reviewing the associated data of past cases within its newly developed analytical framework. And although it's reasonably confident that the triangular-looking objects correlated with a UAS system in the area, Go was unable to confirm the origin or controllers of the craft, noting that the sources or origin cannot be definitively determined, and continues in this quote that these triangles may be a combination of known sources, including UAS, and Arrow is using its newly implemented analytical framework to definitively determine the sources and peer review the results before officially closing the case. So the DoD comments followed the testimony from eyewitnesses who served on board the USS Paul Hamilton during the UAP events. And they told filmmaker Jeremy Corbell that the objects did not appear to originate from the Hong Kong registered cargo vessel, the Bass Strait. So the Bass Strait crew even did deny that they were the source, and they also never launched or landed them. And the eyewitness added that they never saw them they never saw them land or take off at all. So this is that case that was brought forward by Jeremy Corbell of the orbiting triangles that a lot of people had considered to be camera bokeh or visual noise, and just perhaps drones or even stars. And so, Dave, it's great that they are at least reopening the case and looking deeply into it. And this is actually a case that touches a little closely to me because my family witnessed something that included a triangle in our case on the West Coast, just 1,000 miles from where this was witnessed just 10 days earlier. And so I had filmed something very similar to what this case is all about. And so when this came out, I was relatively excited, even though I knew it potentially was just camera bokeh. I had also filmed a triangle in the sky. So very interesting to see how this is kind of being reopened and considered by Arrow. Very excited to see that it can potentially just be case closed at the end of it. So, Dave, how do you feel about this case?
Well, I think historic cases have a very, very large story to tell that hasn't really been told before regarding UFOs. I agree with that. Okay. But if you're going to do one, what other ones are you working on? Are you working on Roswell, pre Roswell? Are you working on the Phoenix Lights? Are you working on Shag Harbor, or the Aztec crash? What else are you working on? All right. And this is where I get a little frustrated when I hear the government, oh, well, we're working on this case. Well, tell us about it. Don't tell us you're working on it. What are the results? I mean, I can sit here and say, I'll give you an example. I've been cleaning up my studio for 3 months. Haven't done it yet, but I've been cleaning it up for 3 months.
Right. I mean, if I was part of Arrow, or if I was feeding data to Arrow, I would definitely consider historical cases that had data and witnesses to corroborate. And this is one of those cases. So I understand why it was selected, and they are considering it. There aren't a lot of cases that come with multiple sources of data, witnesses that are considered ones that are acceptable, military or government officials typically. So this is kind of one of those perfect cases to consider for Arrow. Of course, we know the result of this because more than likely this was camera bokeh and something explainable. However, let's also consider the fact that there are, like you said, other historical cases that have just as good data. And it's a curious question as to why those haven't been brought forward as of yet, Dave. And if you could bring something forward, what case would you select as their other big case with witnesses and data?
I need the Phoenix Lights. I need the Phoenix Lights. Phoenix Lights or Shag Harbor. One of those two. Okay, Shag Harbor had about 1,000 civilian witnesses, if not more, because it was at night when it happened. Okay, and that area of Canada isn't very populated. It would that be that case or Shag Harbor? I mean, anybody who looks at Shag Harbor and not Shag Harbor, pardon me, the Phoenix Lights, anybody who looks at that case when Fife Symington, the former governor of Arizona, makes an absolute mockery the next day. Fife has some questions to answer that he's never, as far as I know, been asked publicly about that. Number one, were you put up to that stupid press conference? What made you think bringing out your press guy in an alien suit was a smart move? Who told you to do that? Okay, yes, you pissed off your citizens, probably one of the many reasons why you didn't get reelected. And then you come out 9-10 years later and say you saw the damn thing. Somebody still hasn't held him accountable.
And there must be some more data. They scrambled jets. There was a second occurrence with jets dropping flares later to cover it up. So you're right. That would be a great case if only the portion of that case that hasn't been made public, the military evidence side. Obviously, they had radar data or they wouldn't have scrambled jets. And what did those jets pick up and see? Mm-hmm. So, then there's those pilots. It'd be great to get those pilots. So
we know there were A-10s scrambled. A-10 Thunderbolts that were scrambled out of Davis-Monthan. We know that. There's a paranormal investigator, Dave Spinks, pardon me, who's been on our show before. He actually was in the Air Force at Davis-Monthan when the Phoenix Lights happened. And he was caught up in a cafeteria or a chow hall, mess hall. What do they? I apologize. I don't know the proper term for a cafeteria on a military base. Okay. But they pulled down. They were not allowed to leave the building. All the shades on the windows were pulled down that nobody could see what was going on outside. They could hear the A-10s taking off. Numerous A-10s. Okay. They knew something was going on. And in that regard, eventually, people start to talk. Then they saw the videos later that night on the news. But yeah, they were at the base when he was at the base when the jets got scrambled. So the fact that they scrambled military aircraft, it does not make sense if there isn't something over there.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
All right, we got 5 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to the show tonight. Let's sneak in one more topic here, Tim, and let's go to Jimmy Carter, the former president.
Sure. So this is actually a great story. I'm so glad that we're talking about it. Jimmy Carter, we're going to find out what Jimmy Carter really thought about UFOs and why he never really talked about his personal experience. So after reportedly spotting a UFO in 1969, the would-be president Jimmy Carter was inspired to speak to the American public on the need for greater transparency on the subject for extraterrestrial life later on in his career. And so in 1969, Jimmy Carter, along with 10 others, witnessed what the would-be president called a very remarkable sight in the skies over Georgia. As bright as the moon and about as big, he later wrote of the unidentified flying object in a report to the Oklahoma City-based International UFO Bureau, while governor of the Peach State. And he says that the object seemed to move toward us from a distance. It stopped, moved partially away, returned, then departed. Bluish at first, then reddish, luminous, not solid. He wrote very descriptively there. The experience stirred the would-be number 39 to bring UFOs into conversation during his campaign in 1976. And he said, if I become president, I'll make every piece of information that this country has about UFO sightings available to the public. And he told the American people, I'm convinced that UFOs exist because I have seen one. And today Carter's promise of transparency is considered to have made a major contribution to the conversation surrounding UFOs and intelligent life beyond Earth. Even if he wasn't always happy, he'd stuck his neck out on the subject. Pretty incredible sighting that he had with a large group of people, mind you. And he felt pretty comfortable to talk about it and push for transparency on talking about it. So he obviously was very struck by his sighting. And it's a really interesting one that in this case, I would love to continue very briefly that Jimmy Carter is responsible for releasing about half of the government's UFO files to the public. And now Grant Cameron, the author of his new book, Jimmy Carter, Paranormal and UFO Tales, is going to be out this Thursday. And so Cameron, whose book consists of archived information from Jimmy Carter's presidential library and museum and more dated reports of the time, explained that Carter became known as the UFO president, and for the move, a reputation that haunts the humble peanut farmer, now 98 to this day. So a new book coming out on this topic from our friend Grant Cameron. And again, that's should be out tomorrow. In fact, here. And again, the name of that book is Jimmy Carter, Paranormal and UFO Tales.
Well, if anybody is going to get a hold of that book, okay, and really get into it to explain it, it is my hero and my mentor, Grant Cameron. And, Nicole Sackich and I talk all the time about how amazing Grant is with his research and the path that he goes down. And this is a book that's going to kind of take Grant back to his roots of presidentialufos.com, his website. And, I'm proud that we're going to try and get Grant on this show. I got a special night coming up in about 2 weeks here. There might be a birthday party. Well, there's only one person I want at my birthday party that night, even though everybody's invited. But that's Grant. So I got to hit him up for that one. I really do. But I mean, this is going to be a great book. And you know what? I think that's a type of book, because it is going to get some press in the New York Post. I believe that's the type of book that's going to maybe take off for Grant. And maybe if these journalists have any cojones, it will get them springing up some questions to other former presidents, more than just going on Jimmy Kimmel and saying, is there aliens in Area 51? Right? We need more than that.
That's right.
We do. And sometimes all it takes is one book by a good Canadian kid like Grant Cameron to open up that door, Tim.
If not Canada, then who?
Exactly. 2-0, America. 2-0.
And congratulations on your Oilers win tonight, by the way, buddy.
Oh, yeah. My Oilers. You know what? True story, Tim. I bought 2 Edmonton Oilers hats. I wore this one in game 2, my orange and blue one. I wore my full blue one for game 3. They got smoked. Put this one back on. They smoked the Knights again. It's 2-0, this hat. 2-0. We're going to ride it through the playoffs. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, #SpacedOutRadio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Oh no, I'm not editing this show tonight. No. This one's going to take a little bit. I have to do it tomorrow. I'll stay for a few minutes. Hi, Abnormal Investigations. How you doing? Nina Williams, how are you? What's squatching? Mike Arrington, what do you mean time to squatch? What is squatch? Don't know that term. Yeah, lots of editing tonight. Lots of editing. I'll make it sound pretty in the morning and ship it off. That is something I shall do. Master editing for the masters. Exactly. Good call, kiddo. Good call. Let's see. All right. So we got that taken there. Then we'll move it over here so we have it done for the morning. And let's do this a little bit. Do that. And then close that off. Oh, can't stand a flat brim. Well, extraterrestrials. I just cannot say that word. Oh, Deb. Another deuce. Thank you, Deb. Solution to waterboarding random gee. That's funny. Part of me wants to start this tonight. You want to hear me edit this mess? Maybe I'll start. Let's see here. Oh, this is going to be nasty. Just nasty. Oh, you guys are in for a treat. Dave, I have 2 beards and a bunch of mane to get through Canadian customs. Any suggestion? Just put beard hair. All right. He was good for the first half hour. That he was. All right. So let's do the first half hour here. Should be ending right around this area here. Maybe there. Or probably right there. Sure. What the hell? We'll have some fun with this. How about that? Yeah, let's just do it and have some fun. All right, so let's get this thing started here. Oh, right there. There's SOR1. It's going to be 350 miles in 12 hours. Mike, where are you trucking to, buddy? Random Gee. This guy gets a haircut every 2 days. Asheville. There's good minor league baseball down there in Asheville. Just saying. All right. Guys ready? We're going to start this. All right. So the first three swear words started at 9:44. So we come on air at 9:35. So it should be around
People could just read a science fiction novel that is both, how do you say, trite? I don't know if I want to put words on it yet. I think I would let other people do that. But it's the opposite of the first one, but also the second one is somewhere in between there.
Okay, so in the third one, you have a lot of narrative.
I didn't realize in the first.
Narrative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and the science that I didn't realize in the first two books too.
Right.
Like a lot of quantum mechanics shit. Like a lot of quantum mechanics shit that I only. Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and the science that I didn't realize in the first two books too.
Right.
Like a lot of quantum mechanics shit. A lot of quantum mechanics shit. Like a shit. Quantum mechanics, like a lot of quantum mechanics shit that I shit. A lot of quantum mechanics shit that I only learned through this process. Like that's always what's guided me. That's always been the process this entire time.
Got it.
But this one had to stand in contrast to the other two as a fictional story. But where I am liberated, almost Science Bob, where I'm liberated to bring in that aspect of science that's both real and that we don't yet understand, but makes for a great story. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's right. But that was the same thing with the first fuck. Sorry. Fuck. With the first fuck. With the first. Sorry. That was the same thing with the first book. Like, we don't know yet. We don't know how time works. We don't know how time travel works. But I was just working from this place that
that was horrible, by the way. Just horrible.
I know. I've been hanging out with my
No interference between them or decoherence. This is cool. Dave, what do you got?
I don't know what the hell you guys have been talking about the last 10 minutes. You know, I really don't. Decoherence? Seriously. There's no woo in decoherence. You promised me.
Actually,
you can't spell woo. Yeah,
you
can't spell woo without decoherence, Dave.
Exactly. There's lots of woo.
I'm saying it for you.
Yeah, whatever you guys.
I've always spelled it decoherence.
Yes, I'm sure
Sorry,
you have.
That joke.
that was horrible, by the way. Just horrible.
I know. I've been hanging out with my kids all night because you do this show too late, Dave. So,
well, you know,
doing dad jokes all night leading up to this.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. By the way, I do have to say this completely off topic. Yes, I'm sure you have.
That joke
from Spaced Out Radio Store. That was pretty awesome there. Not gonna lie. You were rocking it,
dude. You know what sucks is that my wife did like the zoom out thing on the Apple iPhone where you can do like the -5. And it made like my whole body swell out like this. So I looked like some kind of fat monk from the 1500s. But I appreciate you appreciating that.
Well, I mean, hey.
I'll rock your shit all 1500s, but
I mean, hey.
I'll rock your shit all. I'll rock your stuff all. Your shit all. I'll rock your stuff all over the planet. Sorry, you bleep. You didn't have your beep. I'll rock your stuff all over the planet, Dave. Keep sending it, man.
All right, there's the second part. So we can save that one finally. My gosh. Oh, there's number 2. And I'll put this one on here. It's good editing, by the way. That's 4 down and 6 to go. Still easier than editing Steve Istall. That's for sure. Hi, Pammy Smith. All right. So was there any in the next half hour? Yes, there were 3. All right. So let's get that next half hour going. Right about here. What do you say there, Shaq? All right. Calm it down there, random ye. I don't want the YouTube algorithms to be spanking me for your potty mouth. Not my room, dude. You goo head. Sauce? Really? Sauce? It's not even funny. Well, it actually is kind of funny. Oh my. You guys are a bunch of weirdos. Icky talk. All right, what am I doing? Number 3. Hold on. All right, so the first one is at 10:23. We would start at 10:06, 10:16. So that's multiples of 2, 18, 20, 20. Hold on. What are we in multiples here? Yeah, those are 2-minute spans. So 10:06, 10:16, 10:18, 10:20. 10:22, probably around. Justin, who has great hair, by the way, right? Justin is asking if future humans come back in time to fix or change something about humanity, would it actually change the future humans' timeline?
No.
No, because block space time. It's all.
I would love. Oh my god. Actually, can I say jizz on your show? Is that a bad word?
No, you cannot say that.
Okay.
Change something about humanity. Would it?
Because block space time. It's all.
I would love. Oh my. Actually, can I say jizz on your show? Is that a bad word?
No, you cannot say
jizz on. Actually, can I say on your show? Is that a bad word?
No, you cannot say that.
Okay. Well, I wasn't going to say jizz anyway.
Well,
but anyway. Okay, well, I wasn't going to say anyway.
Well,
but I would love if Science Bob McGwier took this because I'm so sick of talking about the block.
Oh, look.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Go ahead.
Time is spread out from beginning to end. Back to see is going to happen. Person from coming back exist. If they came back, he existed. But an entire future history.
All right, let's go to the second question we have from Jules. Go till we to the come on. Just play, damn it. Dark matter.
No idea about super temporal entities manipulating dark matter, but we do have a pretty good idea, given a recent mass particles called the recent. Now, this is a fifth form to include what we now think, and we have observational.
Excellent. You want to chime in on that, Dr. Michael Masters?
I do. I would like to add that I just met Science Bob. I found out recently that him and I have been friends on Facebook for
a long time.
And then I was like, oh shit, that's sorry. Oh crap. Oh shit, that's sorry. I was like, oh shit, that's oh shit. I was like, oh, that's sorry. Oh crap. Oh crap. Sorry, I see you push the button. Oh crap, that's Science Bob. Science Bob is Bob McGwier. Of course I knew who that is. So I connected those dots. And also outside of my own appreciation of him as a human being, I think he's absolutely right about everything he just said. Canyon so many times looking for him, but no.
Radio. All right, there we go. We got another one cleaned up. Got another one cleaned up. Woohoo! Are we having fun yet? Robert Anthony, how are you, buddy? I do. It's, where is it? I got it in here somewhere. Over there. Yes, I do have it in here. So I'm caught up in this editing thing. All right, number 4. Only 3 in this one. All right. So we have, all right, so this is a 10:30. So it starts at 10:35. 10:45 minus 4. Right there. Should be around here.
God. Please?
No.
Get ready for your. Can you push the button? Can you just push the button?
Go ahead.
They're not different. It's the same thing. The beginning and the end are the same thing. We need to stop conceptualizing it like this thing that's the beginning and the end.
I think
that's so primitive. It's so primitive. That's some troglodyte ass shit, man. We need to see it as the same thing. And the end are the same thing. That's the beginning and the end.
I think
that's so primitive. It's so primitive. That's some troglodyte ass shit, man. We need to see it as shit, man. Shit, man. We need to shit, man. We need to see it as the same thing.
I think Wheeler's experiment is all the proof you need that that's true.
That one's done?
Yes, but we don't need physics to know that. We don't need physicists.
You want to chime in on that one, Mike?
I could, but I would just be an asshole that said something with no idea what he was saying.
Yours, I don't have a clue.
But I could be an asshole.
It's funny. On radio, you can say ass, but you can't say asshole.
Would just be an ass that said something with no idea what he was talking about. It would make a dad joke probably, and they'd be like, So, not going to do that. I could.
Well, then let's move on.
I want to.
Let's move on to the next one.
Why do you think it's that far out?
Because I'll be dead by then, and everything good always happens when I'm dead.
All right, but regardless of that, why do you think? Like, why couldn't it be in the next, outside of your own perceptions of this?
No, on a serious,
why not?
On a serious note, I think the governments of the world, led by the United States government, will do everything in their power to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Dave, we talked about this on the last one. It's not up to them.
It's not up to them.
It's not up to them.
It's not up to them. They're going to be given no choice but to accept what happens.
Well, we'll see when it happens. I'm not.
How are you just going to dismiss that? You brought on these two people to talk to you about
two
that.
Scientists.
You brought on Science
you.
Bob, and you brought on Science Mike to say, guys, you're like, whoa, fuck these guys. They don't know what they're talking about.
Well, we'll see.
Miss that. You have Science Mike to say, guys, you're like, whoa, fuck these guys. Fuck. Oh, these guys, they don't know what they're talking about. Push the button, Dave. I mean, do you not hear what we're saying?
I hear a return of little Timmy Senor. We made it. Holy cow, we made it. All right. Where the hell did that go? Hey, Ben Mares, how you doing? That part is done. I'll be right back, guys. Chat away to yourselves. Hi, did I miss anything? It's getting chilly outside. It's nice out. Oh, that would be awesome, Robert Anthony. John McGovern, welcome. Let's start being nice in the chat room. All right. You know who you are. Let's go like this, like this. No, I need that. Like that. Let's go here. Sure. And transfer. I might go get a new camera tomorrow. I think this one may be shot. All right, everybody, just kind of chill it on down. Chill it on down. Don't make me break into song. Love, calm it down. None of that. Deb, we're not playing that game. Random guy, bring it down. Nightmare, how you doing? Where? Is that when I was out of the room? I gotta scroll up, guys. Gosh darn it. I don't like scrolling up. All right, Shaq, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. Thank you, buddy. All the way from Norway. Thank you, my friend. Always appreciate you listening in. All right, where are we here? Enough cheap shots, everybody. Enough cheap shots. I don't want to end the stream yet. Play nice. I hear you, Jenny. This one's been brewing for a while. Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. He didn't take her out. He just took her, erased a comment. It's usually pretty good, John. Just a spat going on. Not very clickish at all. I don't know who Reg Fleming is. Please remind me. Doubleday. And okay is Norway. Yes. Oh, okay. That Reg Fleming. That one I know. Did he see a UFO or something? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, send him my info. Dave at spacedoutradio.com. I'll look him up right now. Hey, Thurston Howell III. Later, Ben. Us nerds will still be here. All right, everybody. Tomorrow night on the show, Kara Peter is going to be here. We're talking Ghosts of Chicago tomorrow night. It's going to be an awesome, awesome show. Can't wait to get her on. Then Ross Allison on Friday night talking paranormal. Thank you tonight to W. Decker ×4, Science Bob, Lala Gizmo, Deb ×3, Justin, Izzy Stradlin, Derek ×2, Obie Flett ×2, Stacy, Random Gee, and Shaq Valet for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. And for all of you kind of hanging on out, be nice to each other, will you? We'll see you tomorrow night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.